Welcome to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Real, taking time out of your day to come watch this episode. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe for me. I'd really appreciate that as well. That's the best way you can support this channel and help me grow my content and grow this channel to where I'd like it to be. Everybody hit the like button for me on the way in on this video today. That also helps promote this video more in the algorithms, helps grow this channel more as well. Please share this content. I would really appreciate that. My guests would as well. If you would please share this episode with someone you know that maybe is interested in the topic we're talking about today. Please leave a comment below as well. We'd love to hear your guys' feedback. You can interact with myself and the guest on the panel and the live chat as well. Whatever we're talking about, just leave a comment there in the live chat. Pop in and say hello. We'll put it on the screen for you. And yeah, without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Hope you guys are having a great week. Welcome on into The Real. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button for me. It's the best way you can support this channel. Hit the like button for me as well. Let's get a like rally going right now. Really helps promote this channel and helps me grow more, so I'd really appreciate that if you wouldn't mind. And yeah, let's get into it. I already see some comments I'm going to get to in a second, but let me intro it here. Last week, everybody was on a high. Obviously, a lot of that was, the win for Jim Donovan that day. And, it was a great day as a Browns fan to finally get a win. But they're all week long, though. That night on this show, we just reacted to the win itself, to the game. And, we kept it more focused on Jim Donovan and honored him and, the respect he deserved. And, and just kind of how it was a unique game and how there was a lot of crazy things that happened in the Browns' favor that day against the Ravens. But they also went against the worst ranked secondary that week, and Kyle Hamilton, I believe, did drop the interception at the end of the game, but the Browns still won. You can't take it away from them. They won that game. But Jameis Winston and Ken Dorsey taking over play calling, the change of quarterback and play caller, there was a lot of sense of just of optimism all week and coming out of that game because it looked like something we hadn't seen all year, especially offensively, because that's been the biggest storyline is offensively with Deshaun Watson when he was in there. Should Kevin Stefanski still be calling plays? This new offense they brought in the offseason, it's supposed to be Ken Dorsey's flavor and his offense he installed, and then Kevin Stefanski still calling the plays in that offense. So then we get to after that game last week, and now everybody's saying, man, 2-6, and I'm hearing all week around Cleveland Airways that maybe the Browns will go on a run. Maybe they'll make the playoffs. They're only 2-6. Maybe if they win this game, they get to the bye. Maybe they could sneak in somehow and go on a run. The season's turned around. I heard a lot of people going as far as saying, Jameis Winston solved all the problems. It was all Deshaun Watson's fault. And then we get to today, and and boy, do we go back to reality today. I don't even know where to start. What a terrible performance today. Absolute, just terrible performance today. Browns lose to the Los Angeles Chargers 27-10 at home. So you're at home. You're coming off a high win last week at home as well. And this is how you perform today. Well, I don't even know where to start. So I'll start with this. I got some notes here I wrote down during the game today, quarter by quarter, because it was that bad. I had to start writing notes, which I usually don't do. But the first quarter, number one, we all know the offense was complete discard. The offense sucked today. It was terrible. Jameis Winston went back to earth today. Last week, he looked like the second coming of, Joe Montana. Everybody thought we had the franchise quarterback. Maybe I heard people saying we should give him a 3-year extension and keep him around. And then he went back today to the Jameis Winston that a lot of people thought he was around the NFL, which is, I think it was 3, maybe was it 4 interceptions? Was it? I think it was 3 interceptions today, almost 4. 4 interceptions. So 4 interceptions, or no, 3. Excuse me, 3 interceptions for Jameis today. Yeah, and so, Jameis Winston early on, you could tell, just did not have a rhythm. The Browns did not run the ball well today at all. They went away from the stuff that worked well last week. Last week, they ran the ball more with wham blocks, more gap scheme running. Today, it was all more in the gun, not as much under center. You could see it from the beginning of the first quarter. And it was a lot more just zone blocking, just man on, man up, and not a whole lot of, success in the running game today. Deontay Foreman, not of any use today. Jerome Ford came back, but Foreman had a good game last week. But the hell with him. Let's not put him in there. The running game was not good. We didn't commit to play action at all. We ran play action, I think, 3 times all the way up until the fourth quarter. 3 times we ran play action today, and the one time they ran play action in the third quarter on the opening drive of the second half, they ran the ball 3 straight times, got a first down out of it, and then rolled play action out and hit Fells on the left side of the field for like a 15, 20-yard gain. So what worked last week, we just completely abandoned it this week. We just said, what the hell with play action, the hell with running the ball. We're going to come out in 5 wide. We're going to come out in the gun, drop back, and let's put our linemen and put our players in predicaments. They're not really, their skill sets, this roster is not built to play as. What I saw today is what I said when Deshaun Watson was in there. We know how bad Deshaun Watson was playing. His confidence, we've said it on the show many times, his confidence looked low. He wasn't hitting layups. He just did not look good at all. But there was still other bigger problems, in my opinion, or just as big of problems, I put it that way, than just the quarterback at that time. You have receivers that can't get open consistently, can't create separation. Saw that again today. You have a terrible running scheme this year. Saw that again today. Your offensive line can never establish dominance in a game, unlike what they did last week, because you committed to the running game, because you don't commit to the run. And when you're constantly when you're a gun-heavy team, a spread gun-heavy team, you jeopardize your offensive lineman a lot, because they can never establish a dominance at the line of scrimmage, because they're constantly 2-point stances, dropping back in pass pro. They get tired. There's no. When you establish the running game, it's run blocking is man up, do your assignment, and it's one-on-one, mano-a-mano. It's how your offensive line opposes their will, right? And also, it's hard to run the ball well when you're constantly in the gun and in spread, because your running backs can't get a running start when you're behind center, under center, when you're under center, your running backs get a running start to the line of scrimmage, which is what we did last week. We abandoned that this week. And so I don't understand why the Browns just abandoned the run. I get you're going against a better defense this week, but you don't just throw out what worked. You dictate to the defense how you're going to play football, and you adjust off of that. But the Browns today went back to what they did all year, and the other was 8 games. And then the first quarter, Kevin Stefanski right away to decision making. They had the one Judy catch on the side, on the one ball in the middle of the field, where Judy looked like he caught it, and Kevin Stefanski didn't even elect to challenge it. That was the one I had that really stood out to me in the first quarter, was the not trying to challenge that catch. Maybe they signaled down and said they had a better view and said he didn't catch it. I don't know. I thought that was weird. And then they get to the second quarter, and you get to the red zone. They get down in the red zone finally. And what I see on that drive leading down to the red zone, though, is when they got there, was longer developing routes, which is what we saw all year. And Jameis Winston standing in the pocket trying to find somebody, but nobody's getting open, because you're calling longer developing routes down the field, 15, 20 yards. Nobody's getting open. The O-line can only hold up for more than 3 Mississippis, and he gets sacked. So nobody was open. And then, so we get out of that. We kick a field goal on the end of that drive. And then our defense today. Denzel Ward did not have a great day. Juan Thornhill did not have a great day. Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson. The back end today was not good. I thought the front end, the D-line, the front 7 was great. I mean, Myles Garrett, I think, had 3 sacks in the first quarter. I think he had 4 total in the first half. So the defense was, the front was dominant today. And they did clean it up more in the second half. The second half, they played a much cleaner game. Just the offense couldn't do anything. But the busted coverages today, though, were very alarming. Denzel Ward got blown by twice. Both of them looked like his fault. And I don't know what happened there, but 2 busted coverages. And that cannot happen, obviously, twice. And we saw this last year. It reminds me of going back last year to the Texans playoff game. We got blown out in that game. A lot of that was off of busted coverages and big plays we gave up. Same thing we saw today. That's one thing in Schwartz's era that we've seen every now and then. The defense will just give up these busted coverages. Overall, been pretty good with Schwartz. But I think a lot of the reason why the defense hasn't played up to par like last year, this year, is because they've been on the field too much at times. Because your offense can't put together more than 3 plays, 4 or 5 plays more of a drive a lot of times. It's just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So, but the busted coverages did not help, obviously. But do I think it would have mattered? because if you take the points away, um, I know we scored the garbage touchdown at the end. So you take the points away from the 2 touchdowns and the busted coverages, we still lose the game because our offense was just that bad today. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. And outside, when I look at this receiving core right now too in the offense, the only receiver right now that I see that's consistently been good the last couple of games is just Cedric Tillman. He's the only guy that's able to create separation consistently, get open, make tough catches. I know he had a drop and stuff today, but he's been consistently their best overall receiver. Could be a little better in the run blocking, in my opinion, which does matter for receivers. He could be better in the running game and blocking, but overall, he's been their best receiver. And so, but again, in the second quarter before the half, you see they had that one play, they hit it to Tillman, and Jerry Jeudy had the procedure penalty. And that's a story we've seen amongst Kevin Stefanski and this coaching staff this year, is they look very unprepared at times. They look unorganized. They look sloppy. The most penalized team in the league at one point this year. I don't know if they still are, but they were. They just look very unprepared. They look sloppy. Like I said, you get a procedure penalty like that before the half on a big play you needed, and then you can't get the big play. It gets called back because of that. It's just mental errors. And the Browns lack details offensively, especially for the last 3 years. I mean, they lack detail. It's always the little things that cost the Browns. And I think that goes back to coaching. What's your preparation during the week? What's your practice habits? What's your game planning? It starts with your coach when it comes to the details and the game planning. And that's where I start to really question Kevin Stefanski. I think Kevin's a nice guy. I think he's a good football coach, but I just don't know if he's the guy that can manage this team, because thus far he has not showed it to me completely. I know he's won 2 coaches of the year. I think the reason why he won those coaches of the year is because I think a lot of people understand it's not all his fault here in Cleveland. If you've watched his channel, I've done videos recently called this, like the San Diego Browns video. I think people know how toxic and how dysfunctional it's been in higher places in the organization for a long time. And so I think the fact that Kevin Stefanski even got some of those teams at the playoffs is admirable, considering the stuff that he has to deal with as a head coach. But the stuff he does have control with, though, his performance as a head coach has not been great this year. I think it's been his worst performance thus far. And again, like I said, the Browns lack details all the time. It's always the little things, and that starts with your coach. And if you want to be successful in this league, you have to get over that hump. You have to have somebody that can help you key down on those details. It goes back to, remember when Michael Jordan was coming up, in the league, and he had his one coach before Phil Jackson. I can slip in my mind right now. You guys know who it is. But he had Doug Collins. Excuse me. Doug Collins was the head coach. They were making the playoffs, right? But Doug Collins, he geared his offense towards one thing, but they needed something else to take the team as a whole over the hump, right? They bring in a guy like Phil Jackson with Tex Winter, and it's more detail oriented. It's an offense catered around a system that gets the team involved, that actually made things easier for Jordan to be a more successful player. And you saw the results. And so I think that might be the bridge we're at, but we'll get into that here in a couple minutes. But the third quarter, though, like I said, they had the first drive. They ran the ball 3 straight times, got the play action pass. It was the biggest play they had all game. And then they just abandoned the run again. And so, they get down in the red zone. I thought the one play where Cedric Tillman, it looked like he dropped it. It was a quick slant inside. It would have been a touchdown if he caught it. I think he ran the route personally. I think he ran the route too parallel. I think if he would have went up and a little more at an angle towards the end zone, he could have just lobbed it right over the top right in there, and he just dove right in the end zone. All he had to do is just catch it. So it was kind of a bang play there. And so, he got hit, dropped the ball, got hit pretty hard too. But the next play, though, Jameis's first interception, trying to throw the ball over 2 defenders in the back of the end zone. I don't know. Jameis Winston today, to me, did not look great. I mean, at all. He was airmailing guys all game. I mean, the one throw in the first half, you had Elijah Moore was open right there, 5 yards away from him. I think on just a simple little curl route, or maybe an out route to the sideline. He just completely shot it way out right to the right side. He had a lot of those today. Jameis Winston was airmailing a lot of throws today. I saw a couple throws in the third really just being thrown literally out in the sideline. Completely off. I didn't, some of the interceptions, like the one in the back of the end zone. And not only that, you were on the 4-yard line at that time as well. Remember, it was second and goal when he threw that first pick. They were on the 4-yard line. So the first play they tried throwing the quick slant. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. It just, to me, that wasn't executed properly. But to come out in the second and goal and try to throw it again, you have Nick Chubb, you have Deontay Foreman, even a Jerome Ford healthy back. But again, you're not committed to the running game clearly. And let's try throwing it again on second and goal when we're on the 4, not even try to run it one time. And it's an interception. And so then he comes out again and throws a terrible pass and throws another interception for his second one of the day. I'm looking at my notes here. And that one, I'm trying to read. Okay, so that pick, that was so that one, the second interception he threw was when they came out after the other interception drive. And I think they were running a play action dagger, I believe. It was a dagger concept, you could tell, because Elijah Moore was going 9 route up the seam, and Tillman was coming back in on a 15, 20-yard dig, which is usually a dagger. And so Tillman's not even out of the route yet. He's not even out of the breaking inside the middle of the field yet. And Jameis decides to just launch the ball right down the middle of the field with nobody open. And Tillman really wasn't even open anyways, and throws a terrible interception. I just some of Jameis's decision making today, I just don't get. That was at that point now, after that second interception, it was his 30th game in his career with 2 interceptions. Then they come back out. At one point in the third quarter, the Browns were averaging 3.2 yards a play. You're averaging basically 3 yards a play in the middle of the third quarter as an offense. That's terrible. It was 2 minutes left in the third. Yeah, 2 minutes left in the third. They were averaging 3.2 yards a play with a total of 3 points at home. And and the fourth quarter wasn't much better. 3rd and 2. There was a 3rd and 2 running play that stood out to me where we ran Chubb. I think we were at the 50-yard line, and they just ran Chubb on a simple inside zone, and it was just a simple zone running scheme. Very vanilla. Again, running out of the gun, and you haven't really committed to the run all game. So now let's try to run our running back out of the gun where he can't get a running start to the line of scrimmage. And let's put our offensive line that's been in 2-point stances the whole game in pass pro. Now let's try running the ball, but let's do it in the most vanilla way possible on 3rd and 2 at the 50. And Chubb gets stuck behind the line of scrimmage. Again, no gap scheme, no pulling the guards, no wham blocking, no nothing. I saw no creativity in the run game today. They didn't even commit to it today. And then Jameis Winston comes back and he throws another interception. And that one, and the third interception that really stood out to me was the receiver, again, couldn't create separation. And Jameis threw I think that was his 13th game of his career with 3 or more interceptions. And then what I didn't get for Kevin Stefanski at the end of the game was the decision to kick the field goal from 51 yards. You're down, I think it was 20-3. You're in the fourth quarter. I get it's 4th and 10. You haven't got shit going all game, but let's kick a field goal. And then the field goal gets blocked. I mean, it was the most talk about factory of sadness. I mean, the damn thing got blocked. And why he decided to go for a 51-yard field goal there when you're down 20-3 rather than just trying to go get a touchdown, I don't understand. That's a whole nother thing. But listen, that's my game. Those are the places that stood out to me in the game today. And I wanted to kind of dive more deeper into the game than I usually do today, just because the game today, to me, really shows what the Browns really are, have been all along, no matter who's the quarterback. They're just a poorly coached team. They lack details. They look unprepared. Their game planning's awful. A lot of their talent on this roster has been highly overrated and highly overvalued. They got big gaps, big holes everywhere. And now here they are on the bye week. And, when I look at this Browns team as well, they just don't have an identity. 1 week you come out last week and play to your strengths. And you run the ball well, you have play action, and you have 300 yards more passing, you win the game, You score more than 20 points. Finally, I think you end up with 29 points. You beat the Ravens at home, and then you come out the next week and you play the complete opposite of what won you the game last week. So they don't have an identity. They haven't had one since 2020. And I just keep going back to in 2021 when reports started to come out. Remember Paul DeBodesta got an extension in the organization, and so the next year it comes out Jimmy Haslam wants more of an air raid offense. You can see there's from Jonathan Jones on CBS Sports, and I've been showing this stuff a lot. And you go back to what Tony Rizzo wrote right around in 2022, and people laughed at this article. And it said Paul DeBodesta is pretty much convinced owner Jimmy Haslam the only way to build a Super Bowl team is consistently throwing for explosive plays in the passing game, apparently no matter the weather conditions. And as you go down there at the bottom, Stefanski's job is safe because he is completely adhering to DeBodesta's advanced statistics, analytics, models, and not resisting them. Disagreeing or rejecting DeBodesta's research would be Stefanski's quickest ticket out of town. And so, again, there's one source. There's two sources. That's from CBS Sports, right? And you heard what Aditi Kinkabwala said on the Alta Cleveland Sports Show recently, how she doesn't think Kevin Stefanski has the full autonomy to do what he wants. And so we've seen this on this show. We've seen all the articles here on this show, and I've shown all the different sources. And you're just seeing that air raid attack. Like that article said, Jimmy Haslam, because Paul DeBodesta has convinced him the only way to win is with an air raid. And so we're trying to play our guys, our team. 2020, we had more identity. We had more of an identity. We ran the ball consistently with Chubb and Hunt. We went and play action more with Baker. It was the furthest we ever made it that year, all the way to won a playoff game, made it all the way to the Chiefs game and the divisional round and almost won it. Probably should have won that game, which had Henne at quarterback. But ever since then, we've completely abandoned that. We've become more of this air raid team. We like to throw the ball around more. And you're seeing it more this year, more than any other year. And we don't have an identity. Like I said, we don't commit to the run. Our running, and when we do run, it's horrible. The schemes are terrible. And our roster, the skill set of our players, they are not being put in positions to succeed because they're not playing up to their strengths. We're trying to play whatever, I don't know, you want to call it San Diego ball, because that's where Paul DeBodesta lives, not even in the building, but he's heavily influenced, it seems like, in the organization, has heavy influence. We're playing air raid ball. I don't know what we're playing. And, you fired Alex Van Pelt over the offseason. Why, I don't know. He didn't really deserve to get fired, in my opinion. We look at the success they had last year with all the different quarterbacks they had. I thought Van Pelt did a nice job last year. I think it was 4 or 5 different quarterbacks, still made the playoffs and had success. But let's fire that offense, right? Let's get them. Let's completely change it. What worked last year with all the different styles of quarterbacks. You had DTR, you had Flacco, you had Watson, you had all different kinds of quarterbacks last year. Was it PJ Walker? And let's fire that. Let's fire that guy, and let's bring in, Ken Dorsey, who called a nice game last week, but Ken Dorsey, when he was back in Buffalo, his style, one of his critiques in Buffalo was he abandoned the run a lot. He liked to drop back and throw. And you saw that again today with him. And so we're trying to build a offense this year and this whole thing that does not fit what we have on our roster. We're not playing to our strengths, and we're not playing winning football. And I think that's why we have a 2-7 football team right now with all the dysfunction and the abysmal offense this year. And it takes me back to, I played this on my show earlier this year. I'm going to pull it up again in a second. What Albert Breer said 8 months ago, or I think it was all the way back in February, March, about why they actually fired Alex Van Pelt. And, when you, let me pull it up here 1 second. And it all makes sense now, to me. And I'll play it again in a little bit. I'll save it for later. I'll put in the Albert Breer tape up what he said on the 98.5 in Boston back 8 months ago. But he explained why they fired Alex Van Pelt. He said that Paul DeBodesta and Jimmy Haslam wanted change. They wanted an offense more catered around Deshaun, and they wanted this air raid attack like you see there, like I showed on the screen. And now we're at a point where that's completely failed, and they're at the bye week. Here, when the Browns gave Kevin Stefanski an extension this offseason, they didn't disclose the details publicly. The last time they did that was Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson got fired that next season at the bye week, or right around that time. So, should the Cleveland Browns move on for Kevin Stefanski after falling to 2-7? I think the Browns need to blow this thing up. I don't think this is going to work anymore. I think you need complete change. I would fire Kevin Stefanski. Probably Adrian Barry's got to go with him. I would not bring back Paul DeBodesta. I know he's up for an extension as well. I will not renew his contract. I would get rid of this whole regime. You got Mike Vrabel in the building. I'd give Vrabel the job for this season as the interim coach. Let's see how he does. I actually think he would do well. I think you just got to completely rebuild this whole thing. And now you're at the trade deadline starting on Tuesday. Za'Darius Smith's probably going to be a Detroit Lion. David Njoku's name's not being thrown out tonight by Mike Florio as a possible trade asset. I think it's time to tear this thing down and rebuild it up. You got a good draft class, a couple good quarterbacks in this class coming out. Maybe you get some picks. I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's time to move on. And I just think here, I think Kevin's a good coach, but based on why I laid out that game today and all the stuff I laid out and the problems, it's the same stuff we've seen all along. They just don't have an identity. This whole experiment just seems very dysfunctional and off. I think if I'm Jimmy Haslam, it's time to move on, and just rebuild and let people do their job. No more Paul DeBodestas hovered over the organization or even being involved. Get some guys in here to know what they're doing and let them do their job and develop talent. That's one thing Kevin Stefanski and this regime has not done. To me, Foley's developed talent, which is very key in a market like Cleveland. You have to not only hit on your draft picks, but how do you hit on them? You develop them. There's no development going on with our guys. A lot of our guys have regressed their draft picks. And so let's get to some of your comments here. Buckeye Wildcat, just put the laughing emojis. Yeah, it's about accurate. He also said Shedeur Sanders to Cleveland 2025 draft. The only way this would happen, I heard this from, I think Sean Kane pointed this out recently. The only way the Shedeur Sanders would even, and the Sanders family would consider Cleveland is if they tore down this whole regime and build it around people that they like. So could that be an option? Possibly, if you tear it all down and restart, it could open that door. Kevin Stefanski is a fraud, and I'm not going to hear about his two-time Coach of the Year awards. Yeah, you sound like a couple guys on our show. Buckeye Wildcat said DTR is listed as 6'2", 205. He's closer to 195. He's way too fragile. Can't play in the NFL. He can't even take an average routine hit without getting injured. Yeah, DTR, I don't think he's 6'2". He don't look 6'2", 205. But he's just not an NFL quarterback. His play style, he's too small. Doesn't read defense as well. I don't think DTR is an NFL quarterback. Again, if we're basing draft picks off of nobody's more analytical in the NFL than the Cleveland Browns. Statistic, and that's from an ESPN poll they just put out recently. The most analytical franchises in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns are number one by a mile. And so if that's how we draft guys as well, it makes sense why we drafted a guy like DTR, because he stuffed the stat sheet well in college. He was really good in college. But I think he threw the fastest football at the combine. Yeah, but he's not an NFL quarterback. I agree. No. Douglas Ernst said, bye-bye Stefanski. Maybe. I agree. I think it is time to move on. Let's see what my panelists have to say tonight. I ended up keeping them waiting. I had to ran a little longer tonight because I had to lay it all out for you guys. But we got Jersey in the house.
I'll do.
And we got Gergs in the house as well. Our fellow Lions fan is here. Jersey, sorry for my long-winded rant. I had to lay it all. It was a lot to get into. You saw me taking notes during the game on this. I wrote it on a little napkin here with a Sharpie pen. Your take on today's game?
As expected. Last week was just an anomaly. There was a lot of things a lot of luck that went our way. But as expected, just looked like the Cleveland Browns. Just horrible. It just doesn't look like that offense doesn't look like a professional football team. I keep saying that over and over and over. You just don't feel like you're watching pro football. You feel like you're just watching a poorly coached Pee Wee team. I mean, you can't get a grasp on what the hell they're doing. Like, it's just the same thing. I don't care who you plug in a quarterback. I've said it over and over and over. That's not gonna. I don't. If you had Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Johnny Unitas, you're gonna get the same result. And I think the problem is they're taking particular players and trying to install these players into they bring in this air raid. Okay, I don't know if you can bring particular players in and then just bring a different system in. I would think you got to take your quarterback and build everything around that quarterback's attributes, your whole offense. You know what I mean? What's the best style for that quarterback? Not okay. We're just going to take the existing roster we have and just switch it up. You know what I mean? We're going to make them play in this system, and it's just another failure by that front office, and because they're the ones that made that decision, and it's just time to get rid of these goons. Get them out of here. I don't know what they're waiting on. It's the same thing. It's been the same thing since they got here. We're actually worse. This is the worst it's been. You know what I mean? It's just like you said, that the little things. I mean, the receivers, like you said, they can't get open. They can't separate. They just look lazy. They look lazy when they're running the routes. I mean, it's just all the stupid penalties, and there's just clearly zero leadership. There's no identity. I'm not going to sit here and hear Jameis Winston. Whoever, I don't know who said this guy needs to get a 3-year extension. Who said that?
It was being talked about this week on the airways and Cleveland Airways that should they extend him? Is he your long-term quarterback? Should we give him a 2-year, 3-year deal? After one game, and we concluded that it was all Watson's fault last week and it was all Jameis solved it all. And yet we saw a lot of the same bullshit this week that we saw the other weeks when Watson was in there.
Yeah.
And I could make the argument that some of the throws we saw today from Jameis Winston, some of those misses were just as, if not as worse than what I saw the previous quarterback make. I mean, some of those misses were like, I mean, from me to you, we were sitting next to, I mean, the one to Elijah Moore just completely air. I mean, I don't know how the hell you missed that one. And then how many ones? There was a lot of, they were just air mailed. I mean,
yeah, it's here. Anyone who said, and then I'll go back to some of the other people. Week 1, week 2, week 3. We need to get Winston in there. Where are you at? Get on the show tonight. All of you people that said that, get on the show tonight and defend what you said. Well, the guy is a backup at best. You saw what Jameis Winston is today. That's what Jameis Winston is. And the other thing that makes him even a bigger liability versus Watson is he can't run. The guy can't run. He's got concrete shoes. So he just is who he is.
Everybody was a all 22 expert on Twitter when Watson was in. Well, you see this here today. There's 2 guys open on the play. He's just looking down on the left side of the field.
Right.
Saw a lot of them today.
So yeah, it's but again, here I feel bad for the players, all of them. Like I said, Winston's Winston. He's still a professional football player. He's never going to be any better than what he is. I'm actually surprised he's made it this far in the league, but this long in the league. But I don't hear it. It's the front office and the coach. Get rid of them. I mean, you could you could take this staff that we have, or not staff, but this roster, and if you had the right front office, the right leadership, and people to actually seem like they understood how you manage a team and how you operate, understood the game, we could have a decent team to watch this year. Even with quarterback issues. I mean, this stuff is. I mean, you got a kicker that he kicked the. I mean, we thought he kicked it off the ass of one of his own players. I mean, it's just you're here, and we shouldn't even been kicking it. We're kicking a 50. We're down. We're down. We're 2-6, and we're down that big. It's 4th and 10. Number one, why are you even in a 4th and 10? Oh, that's right, because you probably didn't run the ball at all. You're in a 4th and 10, not a 4th and 1, a 4th and 2, 4th and 3, even a 4th and 6. You're in a 4th and 10. And let's kick a 51-yarder. Let's kick we need these 3 points because we're playing for something. We're kicking a 51-yarder. And this is what happens. The ball had no trajectory. Everything was just bad. It's a joke. They are the Cleveland Clowns. And those guys that sit in Berea in those offices, they're ultimately responsible. This is the product they've put on the field. This is what they're giving their fans week in, week out. And the fans, as I'm sitting there watching that game, I'm like, the fans just don't even know any better anymore. They're just so used to it. They're immune to it. They just keep going. They just keep going. No, they just keep going because they're used to it. Now, if we had a football team that had been in the playoffs multiple times over the years, maybe even won a Super Bowl, the fans wouldn't tolerate it. The fans wouldn't be going to the games. But you know what it is? Hey, we got a football team in Cleveland. We're going to go out and support it. I mean, it's the fans just don't even know better anymore. You know what I mean?
I've seen a lot more of this tonight. Parent salute to you. Well, he's always in there every week. I don't trust Barry making the picks, man. I don't either.
No.
And we're gonna get into that in a little bit. We got a couple things we're gonna get into, but so I'm gonna ask you. I already know you would you fire Stefanski right now at the bye? Obviously,
absolutely. I would have fired him last year. I mean, absolutely, I would fire him. And I don't even know if he's 100. I mean,
I don't think he's 100% blame, but I think they have to make a change.
No, I'm gonna go back to him because the lack of preparation, the discipline's missing. The players don't believe in him, and that's quite obvious. They don't believe in him, so he has to go for that reason. He does not get the bottom from the players. He's just too. He's just too nonchalant.
It's like Albert Breer said. I'm gonna play that video again here in a little bit because he said everything he said 8 months ago was 100% accurate. That Alex Van Pelt was really the glue of that staff last year. And Kevin's personality, he's not very outgoing. He's a nice guy, but he's not like a,
Yeah. Van
Pelt was the glue of that staff.
He don't have any fire in him, and that's what it takes. It's football. That's how you got to be. And he just doesn't have it, and he doesn't have his locker room. So, get rid of him for that. But you better start with Podesta needs to be the first one that goes, and then Barry, and just get rid of all 3 of them, and just put different personnel in there. Hopefully, get the right personnel. Just do it now. Just do it now. My gosh, give us something else to hope for. Because this shit is just today was. I mean, we literally sat and just laughed. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah, we did. Parent John said, "Bring back John Dorsey. He screwed up by hiring Freddie, but hey, the Niners missed on things and they are fine now." John Dorsey is the reason we had a great team and was competitive. Barry just took over what John built.
The game, I kept nodding out. Sitting in my chair, and I kept nodding out. And every time I opened my eyes,
he literally opened up his eyes. Everybody, he was sitting there like this. He kind of started to snooze off. And he opened his eyes, and he just threw a pick. And as soon as the guy caught it, I say, "Look, he threw another one!" And he just, I think it was like his 3rd one of the day.
Not out. Open up to wake up to an interception.
Yeah, it was just a pick fest. But Gert,
yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up?
What's up?
Gergs, your thoughts on today's game? I mean, I know we pretty much probably hit a lot of it. I know we're all probably in agreement, but what was your take on today? And just, you said it, you called it last week, Gergs. You said Jameis will come back to earth, and he surely did today.
Yeah, I mean, they stink. They stink.
Yeah.
It's just bad football. It's just bad football. There's no other way to slice it. I mean, they're now tied for the worst record in football, and by God, they may win the next game after a bye against the Saints, but that's because the Saints may be the worst team in football. But that is a toilet bowl game, and they are terrible. The good news is they're not going to lose next week.
Yeah. It won't be. They'll be fire sailing. Your take, Gergs, on Kevin Stefanski today. I mean, I know you've been saying fire him for a while. I mean, your thought. I mean, some of the decision making today, and then the offense itself. I mean, what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over again. I mean, they don't look prepared. They don't look like they even want to be there. I mean, it's just not a good football team, and
No.
they look like they're not being led. I mean, it's just I mean, again, they exposed a bad Baltimore secondary last week, and everyone thought it would and
They probably still should have won if they would have caught that interception, by the way.
of course, yeah.
Right.
The difference between this game and last week's game is just simply the Chargers actually caught the interceptions.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they actually catch over there in the secondary. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I kind of hit on a lot of the game earlier. I know we're all in agreement on it. I think they have. Do you think that? Do you guys? Well, I'll say this. Do you guys think they will make the move now to fire Stefanski at the bye week, Gergs?
No, I think that there's something wrong with them. I think they have a problem admitting, and I think they'll just ride this out. Obviously, I think they should. I think they should have last year. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't think that they will, because I don't know if they're that smart.
Yeah, Dad, do you think they will this week?
I'm with Chris. Before he even said that, I was like, I don't know. Any logical thinker would say, okay, wipe out the front office of the coach. But this is the Cleveland Browns. Jimmy Haslam has to be the one to do it, obviously, because he's got to fire Deep Podesta. But I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, if I had to say, they won't. It's Cleveland. They just don't do the right thing.
Well, if they keep it as is, what do you guys think they would finish with? Probably 4 or 5 wins?
No,
or 3?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they beat the Saints. I don't know how you could watch the game and think that.
I don't think they're going to beat anybody.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't think I don't want them to win at this point, right? And because I'd rather get the draft pick at this point. But let's see. Parajot said 3 at most. Yeah, I think 3's being nice. Here's my thing, though. You have a guy in the building who I think we all agree that if you're going to fire Stefanski right this year, you should put Mike Vrabel, who's already in the building, at head coach, right? I think we all agree on that. So,
of course,
I think if you want Mike Vrabel, based on some of the stuff I've heard the last couple of days from people in coaching circles in college and stuff that's been reported by other people that know good inside information as well, the reason why I connect Mike Vrabel to college is because I don't think Ryan Day is going to be at Ohio State after the season. Or it's a good chance he won't be. I think there's a good chance if he pulls a Jim Harbaugh, he wins, and he takes an offensive coordinator job in the NFL, which I think his agent allegedly has already been calling around with other teams, and filling out certain situations. I don't think Ryan Day will be there after the season, and so I think there's a good chance. I think Mike Vrabel and a couple other names I'm not going to name. I think Mike Vrabel would be an option for the Columbus job, for the Ohio State job, and I think he was spotted in Columbus a couple weeks ago, rather. So I think if you're the Browns, he would be my guy, and you already have him you have him under contract technically. if you want him as your head coach, you better get him now before he possibly goes down the road, down 71 to the college team, if you don't give him the job this year. And so I think they got to make the move now, because if Vrabel's their guy, if that's who they want, if they replaced Kevin Stefanski, which I've heard has been in consideration, that from Vrabel's side of it, that they have been it's been an option with Mike Vrabel. It's pretty obvious why he was brought in here. And so I think they got to get it done now, or they could lose him. And I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that.
I agree.
Yeah. If you don't use it, you lose it. They need to start using it.
Well, and like I said, I've heard from people I trust that are actually college coaches in certain circles, that they've heard that it's a for real thing. So, I think they got to get it done now, or they could lose him to the other school. Because if you don't hire Vrabel, I mean, I don't know what other coaches could they be looking at. I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me, he's the obvious choice. I mean, Dad, what do you think if Vrabel took over the rest of the season?
Well, I think you'd see an instant change in the team. You'd see discipline. You'd see the all the mental errors would be cured. You'd see functionality. You'd see they would, teams always take on the temperament of their coach, the habits of their coach. I mean, this guy played under the greatest coach, where there was no miscues. There was, the little things were mastered. You know what I mean? And they were able to win with, without a bunch of Hall of Famers, and they did it frequently. So you would instantly see the Browns are so bad that it would be just in one. I'm telling you, probably in 1 week. Let's just say they fired Stefanski tomorrow. You go into no bye. You put Vrabel in. So okay, you're playing in 2 weeks. You would see a totally different team. Totally different team. But again, he's not going to take that gig with those two clowns in the front office. He's not working for those guys.
He's not working for the Geek Squad.
Yeah, he is not working for the freaking IT guys. It's just not happening. And the other thing is, he's not there to do this for 2 years. I mean, whatever he's doing right now. Yeah, whatever he's doing right now, he's not doing it next season. So it's like Chris said, use it or lose it. But I don't see him now. He may go in as an interim coach, knowing that front office is getting replaced. But he's not. I just can't imagine that guy would come into take that position, knowing that's who he's going to answer to.
Yeah, and
people that are beneath him, and as far as football acumen and skill and whatever, anything in every aspect. And he's a winner. They're not winners. You know what I mean? So,
I think you have to get him now, because, like I said, I'm not saying it's for sure Ryan Day's leaving Ohio State, or even other people that have reported that over the weekend before the game Saturday. But I think there is a behind the scenes, there's a growing sentiment that it could be a very well the option after the season, that he could be out. And so why wouldn't Vrabel probably would be the number one choice for that job in Ohio State, or he'd be high on the list. I know that. So you got to get him now. I think he'd prefer to be in the NFL. I think there's a lot of reasons why Day could want to leave. Like a lot of coaches, like Harbaugh, a lot of guys want to get out of college football with all this new NIL stuff. It's a headache, and so they're willing to go take coordinator jobs in the NFL. Or obviously, if you get a head coach job in the NFL like Harbaugh, it's even better. But you have to get Vrabel now, or you risk losing him to the team down 71 at the end, or maybe another NFL franchise at the end of the season. And so, and like I said, I agree with you. Why wait?
I could have had Harbaugh.
Right, we could have had the guy on the opposite sideline, which you said all last season, Gergs. The guy on the opposite sideline today who put on a clinic, you said all last season they should go get him, and I agreed with you, and they didn't do it. And you saw the result today. And so
completely outcoached.
Exactly. Just like Urban Meyer always said, 4 to 6, A to B. That was elite.
A lot of people And a lot of people last year called us crazy for saying that, to fire Stefanski and hire Harbaugh. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Yeah, absolutely. He absolutely put on a clinic. He made them look like idiots. I mean, he's a great coach. I mean, there's a lot of people don't like certain things about him, but
Chargers had 5 wins all year last year. They have 5 wins already.
Right.
What
Getting
changed?
healthier.
Oh, what changed? Oh, I don't know. They lost their
But
2 top receivers, and it still didn't matter.
And I heard J.K. Dobbins was washed by a lot of these people that said all that stuff. But you see, with the right coach, he's still got it in the tank when he's healthy. He's an effective player.
And that's what I say every week. I don't blame the players, because people have lost sight of how important a great coach is. I mean, you could have all the greatest talent in the world, and you got a terrible coach, you're not winning. Then you go take it like the Patriots. They had one Hall of Famer consistently, and then they had just a bunch of freaking role players they brought in every year. Had good offensive lines, but they had great coaching. Just great coaching. Those guys were all coached up. Mike Vrabel wouldn't even be being talked about right now had he not went to the Patriots. You know what I mean?
Well, look,
I really believe.
Tennessee. I mean, he had some good runs in Tennessee too.
Yeah, but his career in New England set all this up. You know what I mean? No, I mean, here he was really good at Ohio State, and then he got drafted by the Steelers, and but we probably wouldn't be talking about him in this fashion had he not played there under that tutelage and in that system, and just learn how to win and what it takes to win. And it stayed with him the rest of his career, obviously. So that's just the power of coaching. They made another good. They gave that guy they helped that guy have a hell of a career. He got 3 Super Bowls, and then he became an NFL coach, and now he's going to be a coach again. They did their job. They built this guy into what he is. That's the power of coaching.
Well, you got to get him. And one thing, like I said, it stands out to me is just the lack of development from this coaching staff as a whole under Stefanski. I don't see a lot of guys being developed. And, if we go back, let's see here. He said Travis Hunter would be a logical pick, and draft a brand new O-line and get Arch Manning 2 years from now. Possibly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it depends where you are. I think you'd have to get the #1 pick to get Travis, probably. Arch Manning's interesting. Obviously, he's 2 years out. I know the Manning family has some connections with the Haslams, but I don't. I mean, with the way the Browns are built right now, nobody's coming here. They're not an attractive destination right now. #1 because of the market, obviously, and the location, but also just who's running it. It's not very attractive to anybody. And it's like what Sean King said recently, I think, who has connections with the Sanders family. The Sanders would only consider Cleveland if they wiped out this whole regime and put in some more people that they liked. And so, it makes it more attractive. And so right now it's not. And I want to go down this list here, guys, because I talked to our buddy Mike earlier. He might be, I think he's going to hop on tonight. Or he possibly, he might, I don't know. We'll see. But Mike said he would only keep Andrew Berry. That's the one he wants to keep.
Wow.
Yeah, he's Andrew Berry over anybody. That's who he wants to keep. He thinks Andrew Berry has been good at identifying talent. Huh? Yeah, he's okay with it now. He said he doesn't care. He only cares if they keep Andrew Berry. But I think Andrew Berry's been slightly overrated, like a lot. And let's just go down the picks here. You guys tell me, hit or miss. Jedrick Wills. I think we all say that's a miss.
Bad miss. Airball.
Grant Delpit. I think that's a hit.
Yeah, it's a hit.
I think that's undecided.
I'll say it's a hit. I think thus far it's been okay. Jordan Elliott, big miss, not even on the roster. Jacob Phillips, not even on the roster, another miss. Harrison Bryant, another miss, not even on the roster. Nick Harris, who they let go and then traded back for it at the beginning of the season once Luke Whipler got hurt. Nick Harris, the backup guard center.
Miss.
Yeah, miss.
Miss. All right. Donovan Peoples-Jones, miss. Greg Newsome.
Miss.
Undecided.
I'm going to say miss because I think he's a little overrated. So we'll say miss. JOK, that's a hit. Anthony Shorts, probably playing video games. James Hudson, the tackle, miss. Okay. He said Jimmy would love art.
Stinks.
James Hudson, miss. Tommy Togiai, I don't think he's even in the league right now. Tony Fields, he might be on the roster. I just don't hear about him a whole lot. Richard LeCount, talented player in high school and college, but he's not on the team. Demetric Felton, nice player at UCLA, but didn't pan out here. Martin Emerson Jr., who looked great the first 2 years, but has digressed.
Yeah, but there's still time.
I'll say he's a hit. He's had 2 good years. Would you say, Dad? 2 out of 3?
Yeah, I'd say.
You can work.
I'd say hit. He's a hit. We'll see what happens next year.
Alex Wright. I think Alex Wright's a hit. He got hurt this year, but he's looking pretty good when he was playing. Though. I'll say Alex Wright's a hit. David Bell, miss. Talented, but miss. Perrion Winfrey, we know that story. Cade York, not even on the roster. Let's see here. Hold on one second. My phone got messed up. I think Cade York was the 2022 draft? Yeah. Jerome Ford.
No.
Fifth round pick. Is he a good rotation piece?
Yeah, 5th round pick. Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say. We need to add what round they were picked in. I think 5th round pick. Yeah, it's been all right.
Yeah, I'll say he's okay. Michael Woods, miss. Isaiah Thomas, I don't think he's even on the. That's not the basketball player, by the way. That's I don't think he's even on the roster. Dawson Deaton, I never heard of him. Cedric Tillman, I think that's more of a hit now. Would you put him in the hit category? He's got some upside.
Yeah, I would say that.
He's come along. All right. Siaki Ika didn't even make the team. DeJuan Jones. Can you work with him?
Yeah, too early. I'm going to say it's...
I'll put him in the hit category. How about that? I think he can work. I think there's still upside there with better schematics and teachings up front.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even, to be honest with you, I think if there's any of the 3, probably keep Barry the most. Just based on, I mean, Paul needs to completely go away.
Well, hold on. Let's Isaiah McGuire. Okay, miss. So far a miss. DTR, big miss. Cam Mitchell. I guess okay, but I mean he's a 5th round corner. He's been rotational at times. I'll put him in the hit category because he hasn't been terrible. Luke Whipler. I think you can work with Luke Whipler. He got hurt. I mean, it's a bad injury. Nothing you can do about it. I'll put him in the hit category just because I think you could still work with him. And then let me pull up this year's draft class so far, and we'll finish up with that, and then I'll tally it up. But I can tell you right now, looking at both categories, a lot of misses and just a few hits. 2024 draft picks. I mean, I guess it's too early. Mike Hall Jr. You think he'll be a hit? I mean, is it too early? I mean, maybe maybe we won't do this.
Probably too early.
Yeah, we won't do this year's class. We'll just keep it there. So I have 5, 10, 15, 20. I have 9 hits and 22 misses.
My
So
gosh.
you guys tell me, would you keep him around? And I think this is collaborative
No.
with the coaching staff as well in their development of these picks as well. That's 40%. He's shooting 40%.
Yeah, I mean, and they are later round picks. I mean, again, I think they just need to clean house just because it's just probably best. But I think if you asked me, one has to stay, two have to go, I would probably say Barry would stay over Paul and Kevin, in my opinion. But I think they need to get rid of them all.
James Taylor said, keep Barry, get a more modern OC, and hire Mike Vrabel. 95% of these draft picks are late round picks. Well, but he put himself in that predicament because he was part of making the Watson trade.
Yeah,
so I can't really give him a pass. And the Watson trade was a complete failure. That's a big miss. That's the biggest miss out of all of them. So you still got to hit on your draft picks regardless. And I tie Barry and Stefanski together because, like you said earlier, great organizations, they can draft guys like an Isaac or whatever his name, Pacheco, the Chiefs was a 7th round pick, but because of good coaching and culture, they can develop that guy into a good player and help them win a Super Bowl. We're not doing that. So that's my whole point of this.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams that, over the years, that have made a living out of late round picks.
Right, it matters, especially in your market.
That's where it matters the most, I believe, because just for the money factor, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you can make a higher percentage of those picks work, and versus what you spend on them, that's how you become a winning organization. Look at the teams over the years that again, I'll go back to the Patriots. They were always picking 31st or 32nd. Kept on winning.
Development.
Yep.
Development. Dan said, and that was being pretty liberal with the hits list. I agree. I was being a little liberal with it. But Steven said, yeah, firing every coach you get is working out for Cleveland. Well, they seem they can't hire the right guy.
Is there an alternative? Is there another recommendation you have?
Go look at Brad Holmes. Go look at Brad Holmes' last 4 drafts with the Lions, and you'll see a lot of hits.
Yeah. Also, when you hire the right coach too, right, Greg?
He's good.
Right. Samuel said fire him and then fire Doug Peterson. Well, yeah, maybe Doug Peterson should be fired in Jacksonville. But yeah, I don't know. What's the alternative? I mean, somehow the Chiefs always hit on late picks because they have great culture. They develop players. That's why they're dominating the NFL right now. Obviously, yes, they have Patrick Mahomes, but even Patrick Mahomes sat for a year and developed under Alex Smith. And when they put him out there when he was ready, because they're smart, they know how to run organizations. They're first class, and they know Andy Reid knows what the hell he's doing. And they understand their market too, how important it is to develop their draft picks. We don't do that. we haven't. Who have we developed in 4 years? I just laid it out. Probably. I think there were some guys who left in the hit list just out of potential. So outside of what JOK and maybe Grant Delpit, that's 2 players out of 31 draft picks that have actually developed in the good players.
Right.
I mean, that's sad. That's awful. That's terrible culture, terrible coaching, terrible drafting. So, yeah, no. Parent John said he saw Anthony Schwartz at Walmart just now. So, yeah. Anyways, not only do we maybe need to cleanse that, the front office and stuff, the coaching, but this is the trade deadline coming up, and I'm just curious, who are some names maybe you guys think the Browns should consider trading at the deadline? I don't know. What do you guys think? Could David Njoku be on his way out of here? According to Mike Florio, that's a name to keep an eye on.
I think he probably wants out. I mean, you got to before they redid his contract. Wasn't he saying he wanted out? Wasn't there some speculation that he was unhappy, wanted out? Here, he probably wants a change. He's been here. How long has he been here now?
Since 2017.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I say 7 years in. It's going nowhere. I mean, he's been injured this year, but he's not getting the attempts he normally gets. I could see him wanting out. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's traded.
Gergs, any other names on the roster you think? I know obviously Darius Smith's probably going to your Lions tomorrow or Tuesday. That seems like a guarantee. Do you see any? Who would you trade on this roster right now? Try to get picks for it, Gergs. Because I'm assuming you're trying to get picks, obviously.
Yeah, I mean Denzel Ward. I'd try to trade him. Just because you could probably get some really good value out of him. Even though he's one probably concussion away from his career ending. Honestly, everyone but Myles Garrett probably I'd be open to trading. And obviously Chubb's not going to go anywhere, but
I wouldn't trade Mo either.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, he's on the IR. I mean, but yeah.
Well, I mean, he won't be, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I obviously not him, but other than JOK and Myles Garrett, I wouldn't say anyone's untouchable.
Who would you? So, what do you think would be a successful deadline for them right now? What moves do you think they need to make overall, organizationally and roster-wise?
I think Joku goes. I think Elijah Moore goes, and I think Za'Darius Smith goes. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of the big boys in the middle, Tomlin or
Harris
go.
Jersey.
I mean, here I'm trying to think if there's anybody I'd add to that. I mean, obviously, I think Chubb's untouchable. I think Nick Chubb probably controls his destination, his own destiny. That I mean, if they traded Chubb, these son of a bitches would have to have 24-hour security around their personal homes. I mean, you don't, you know what I mean? So, but I think he's untouchable. But I agree with all the other ones you said. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else.
What do you think you can get for Jed Wills?
A couple packs of cigarettes.
Probably not even that.
What'd you say,
Probably
a couple packs of cigarettes.
Probably not even that. I mean, probably.
I mean, you're getting
nothing. I don't think they'd have anybody interested. They could. Yeah. They probably. I mean, he's about equivalent to one of these armadas we got on the lot. That's. I mean, it doesn't matter what you price them at. What there's just. I got these things have been there over a year and it hasn't been one lead on them. And so
slow moving units.
Oh yeah, that's what he. That's just no one. They get nothing out of him, and they know it. So just cut the guy.
He said, honestly, get him out of here. He sucks way too.
But they won't because that was their pick.
Yeah, why do you think? Do you think that's why Jerome Ford played today and they didn't use Foreman last week? Because Foreman was the guy they signed and Ford's the guy they drafted. You know what I mean? If Foreman had a nice game last week and him and Chubb had a 1-2 punch in the running game, but you bring Ford back, why would you? That just seems like we have to play our pick.
They've shown it over and over. They always lean to their picks.
Well, they care about passing the ball, and they're never going to pass it. I mean, Chubb and Foreman are one and the same. They're not. Well, I'm not saying talent-wise, but you know what I mean. They're the same kind of back.
They're hammers.
Yeah.
And it worked last week, and you just completely abandoned it this week.
Yeah.
let's let's play our draft pick, not the guy that helped us win the game last week. Param John said, keep Miles, Chubb, Denzel, JOK. Everyone else, pack your bags.
I think that Denzel, you're going to get the most for, and I don't know why you'd want to keep him. He's getting up there. What is he? 9 years in the league.
No, he's been in the league since 2018, so 6 years.
6 years in the league.
He was in the Baker draft.
Okay, so 6 years, 6 concussions, and
he's 27 years old.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point? I don't see a point in keeping him, especially the value. You're going to give him you're going to get the best value out of any of those people. You know, Zadarius Smith's probably going to be a 4th or 5th rounder. You know what I mean? You probably can get a conditional 5th round for like Shelby Harris. I mean, Njoku, you could probably get a conditional 4th, maybe a conditional 3rd if you're lucky. I think Denzel Ward, you could potentially get, you know, a late second, early 3rd round pick, you know, for him. And I think it's worth it at this point.
Yeah, I would move on from him too. You know, it's just that's 6. The concussion thing alone. This guy's career could be over at any time. And 27 years old. I would probably prefer to have a little bit bigger, more physical corner. But I'm with Gergs. I would move on right there. Just draft somebody, you know, try to draft someone else.
Well,
I don't think he does enough to be untouchable.
Yeah. Parent John
then he shit the bed twice today.
Well, I think he's one of the better corners in the league, but it's just staying on the field's an issue. But
yeah, well, that's the other thing.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Parent John said they better fix this crap sooner. That stadium Jimmy wants will not happen without us paying for it. They got a mess going on right now up in Cleveland, Dad. You know, not only on the field, but off the field now. You got the lawsuit with the city, and that's it was I think Channel 3 put out another article or thing tonight from the I-Team that lawsuit could drag out for a while now. You saw the city of Cleveland put out their proposal and their stadium on the lakefront, and then there's this whole rumor about the Modell law, and there was a Kudovich or whatever his name is putting out that thing. Jersey, I'm curious your thoughts on all this too, because Jimmy wants this stadium, but he doesn't want to pay for it in Cleveland, obviously. With your team playing like this, I mean, what momentum do you have in getting any stadium? I mean, does the city have the leverage right now? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think it's probably his first and foremost. When you talk about the Cleveland Browns, that's priority number one. For a lot of other reasons other than just football. I would say the city has no leverage. I mean, they don't have any leverage. I mean, this guy could. He's going to get the stadium. It's just when you got a winning team, it's a lot easier to get people. You know, if you got to pass, you got to have these votes where, for issues to raise money from tax revenue. It's a lot easier to get it passed when you got a winning product. Yeah, it's just if I'm someone, I mean, tell me why I should invest into this. Why should I okay my tax dollars paying for this stadium? Yeah. You tell me. I mean, that's what I would say to Jimmy Haslam. You fucking tell me. I mean, it looks like it's going to be the worst investment ever made. I mean, I just can't imagine. I don't know how the hell it's going to happen, and it has to happen fast because that lease is up in 28. So, but I don't think the city has any leverage. I mean, the owner always has the leverage. It's his team, and ultimately he's going to be able to do what he wants with it. But he needs the fans to help pay for this, and you're just good luck getting that when this is what you're giving the fans.
And not only that, if you're going to keep all this regime as well and keep everything the same, I don't know how any honest fan could have confidence in if they just kept the coach, kept the same front office and everything. He said,
"Well, if I'm a fan, here's what all the fans are thinking."
Chris C says, "Fire everyone and let the team leave. Watch them win a Super Bowl in the city they moved to."
I don't want to talk about a stadium. I want to talk about winning football games first. And that's probably what everybody thinks. You know what I mean? Why are we talking about a new stadium? What, just to lose in? We need to win some football games. We need to become a good team, a consistently good team before we worry about building a fucking $2 or $3 billion stadium that they want to build. It's just crazy. But it's just I guess that's Cleveland.
So we all agree that they should fire Stefanski. We all agree that they should probably hire Mike Vrabel since they're in the building, and we all agreed that they probably should get rid of Andrew Berry as well. And we also agreed they should probably look to be trading at the deadline, obviously getting back many assets as possible. If they do all those things, you still have Deshaun Watson under contract, and that's a hard contract to get out of. What do you guys think their long-term approach should be to that, and should they try to get one of these quarterbacks in the draft?
Here's what I would do. I can't get out of that contract. I got him for 2 more years. I have to pay the guy. I tried to build everything around this guy in 2 years. For 2 years, I try everything I put in place is something is personnel in that office to get the most out of this quarterback. They're not getting out of the contract, so I got to do everything I can to get this guy to play at the highest level he possibly can and see what we get out of it. And after that, if I have really good personnel, they'll adapt. You know what I mean? When I say personnel, I say, GM or whatever, people in the front office. But I'm sticking to, you have to build everything around the quarterback. Then that's your quarterback. That's going to be your quarterback for the next 2 years. Unless I don't see any way they can get out of it. So you have to make the best of it. And you don't expect him to, change all of his habits that he's played with his whole life and go into this different system. No, everything has to work around him. And I think that's what they're doing wrong. They haven't done that.
Parent John says he just needs to sell the team. He sucks at being an NFL owner. Give it to someone that knows how to run a franchise. Yeah, but I don't know if that's happened anytime soon. I mean, we'll see where stuff drags out the city stuff down the road, maybe, but I don't know. But Gergs, what do you think about all that of what they should do going? What should they target? Obviously, you got Watson still on the contract.
I don't think there's any way Watson's playing on the field with Cleveland again.
I don't either.
Obviously, they're in a bad situation with the contract and anything like that. And to be honest with you, I think it's. I don't know if he would ever want to play. I don't know why he would want to ever step foot on the football field for the Browns ever again. I just think it's no. I mean, I just don't. I don't see it happening. I don't think it's happening. And I try to do my best to just get out as much as I could from under that contract and see what happens next. But there's zero chance, in my opinion, that he plays football for the Cleveland Browns moving forward.
I agree with that. I don't think there is. I think it's zero chance too. I think that's far from. That's far from ever happening. Him playing.
And plus, why would he? We got Jameis.
I agree. Yeah. Say that again, Chris.
I said, why would he? We have Jameis Winston.
Yeah. Yay.
Well, the question would be if they fired the coach in the front office and brought in people that he liked, would he then? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's the answer. Like, I'm not saying Watson is the truth and that's what we got to hang on to. I just don't see them getting out of that contract. So, if you brought in people that adapt well to him, you know, maybe
I don't
he's.
think I don't think
I
it's worth
just
the
think
squeeze. Go ahead, Kurz.
I just think it's the disconnect between him and the city. I think it's deeper than just the front office and stuff like that. I just think it's. I mean, the guy tore his Achilles. I mean, the guy popped his Achilles in front of, 40,000. I don't even know how many people, and they all.
I think that would, but see, I think
cheered.
there's fans. I think there's fans at every city that'll do that. I mean, there's fans here. They do it in Philly. They do. I think there's fans everywhere that would do that. But I also think that the Browns have done this. They have used him as a scapegoat. DePodesta, Barry, all that they haven't went out publicly, other than when they signed him. They have not went out publicly and really stood by the guy. I mean, they've used this guy. They've allowed the blame to go on this guy. And you could actually, if you had the right people in there, I think they could actually clean that up. I mean, you can get, let me look at this. You can get, here, we all know this. Through the media, you can get people to believe anything. You know what I mean? So, they could repair that. I don't think, I really don't think that those people booing him, I don't think that affected him.
I'm talking
I
about
get
just from day one. They've never. I mean, what 75% of the fan base never's really even wanted them.
Well, I don't know.
But we've also said here, if they were winning football games, they'd love him. They'd love him. But why are they not winning the football games? That's the issue. If we were winning the football games consistently, the fans would be. They'd defend him to the death. So
yeah, I just think it's too far gone. But I could be wrong. You could be right. A change of it all and him running it back. I mean, maybe.
I'm not, like I said, I'm only saying that if they weren't stuck in that contract, I would say, okay, let's move on. It's just probably best for everyone to move on. But they're stuck in it. I don't see them getting out of it. And why? And I'm not going to take that loss as an owner. I've signed this guy. I'm not wasting my money. If I got to play this guy and fucking lose, I'm doing it. I paid for it. That's what I'm getting. So I'm not paying a guy that kind of money and not getting any playing time out of him. I'm playing him. I'm running with it. I'm gonna try to make it work. I just think that's what good owners, and maybe that we don't have a good owner. I'm not saying we do or we don't, but that's just what you do. You know what I mean? You got to make it work. You got to try. And here, there's one consistent thing that's went on even before he came here, and it's DePodesta, Andrew Berry, and Stefanski. It's been the same thing no matter who's there. You know what I mean? They seem to start getting things on track with Dorsey, and then DePodesta wants him out, they get rid of Dorsey. And then everything just goes to shit. I mean, look at the Baker Mayfield thing. Look at that. I mean, everybody was writing off Baker. The city was against Baker. The city was booing Baker. You know what I mean? I even said I'll be the first to admit it. But it wasn't him. You know, he's proven now that he belongs in the NFL. Just what the Cleveland Browns were doing, and they didn't come out. Stefanski or Barry, they didn't come out that last season and defend him. They let him die on that shit. So, and it's just to protect their own asses. And they're the ones that look like idiots now because the guy's over in Tampa playing well and probably gonna make the playoffs. So they're the common denominator in all this bullshit. And so just cut the head off of it and get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Going back to Watson, I think I don't think he replaces your. I don't know if it's really worth it at this point because he's got 2 major injuries now. And mentally, to me, he just doesn't look the same. Obviously, I don't think he's ever coming back to even average, at least not here in Cleveland. I don't see it. And so I mean I get what you're saying, but I don't see it happening here. I think they got to reboot the whole thing fully, especially if you're going to be trading some of these veterans away as well. You kind of have to move on fully. So the only way you can do that though with the contract is you got to get a rookie quarterback because you got to get him on a rookie. You got to have a rookie deal, helps you more in the cap. So looking ahead to the draft, I mean, is there any guys right now that you guys would consider with a new regime? I mean, Shador Sanders. Obviously, we know there's some more complexities there. Quinn Ewers. I mean, Cam Ward. And what do you guys think there were the quarterbacks in the draft?
Well, here I would certainly love to try Shador Sanders. I mean, and I've watched a lot of Colorado games. Obviously, I've seen Shador Sanders do things that most college quarterbacks don't do. He does a lot of things that NFL quarterbacks do. I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of growth there, but that needs to happen. But he's certainly he's worthy of the NFL. And Quinn Ewers. So, I hear about Jackson Dart, but I've not got a chance to watch Jackson Dart. So, but I would certainly like to have. I'd be excited for Shador Sanders. I'd be excited for that. And I love Quinn Ewers. So,
Gergs.
I don't think they should. I think they should use their top pick on something other than quarterback.
Who would you roll at quarterback next year?
Good question, but I don't know if their problems are deeper than just quarterback.
I agree.
They need to build the trenches. I mean, they need to it's a rebuild on offensively. They are in a rebuild, 100%. I mean, they don't really have much there. Offensive line's not very good. Quarterback obviously stinks. I mean, running back Chubb obviously is Chubb, but outside of him, and he's on 2 ACL tears. Cedric Tillman, I mean, okay, but he ain't no number one. Jerry Jeudy is Jerry Jeudy. And I mean, you got Elijah Moore. I mean, you don't have anything on offense. So I don't know if you throw another quarterback out there, he struggles because there ain't much there. Then you have Cleveland acting like he's a bust without letting it play out.
And not developing them properly.
And then it's the cycle. I think that you gotta. I don't know who you throw out there, even if it's Jameis for another year, and understand that you're probably not gonna just, you're probably not gonna go to the playoffs, but at the same time you're gonna have grit, you're gonna have, toughness, and you're gonna play hard, and you're gonna play great defense, and you're going to, try to build from the ground up. But I don't know if you draft another rookie just to see him go through the torture that is the Cleveland Browns when it comes to quarterbacks. I don't know if you do that. I don't know why you do that. But
yeah, I mean, I look at it like, number one, it doesn't matter who we draft first unless the stability in the front office and the coaching staff is that's first and foremost. That's what needs to be established. Until that changes, don't expect any success, in my opinion. But if we get that fixed and solved with the right people, I think I look at it as there's only 2 quarterbacks in this draft I really like that I think are really worthy of taking in the first round that I think have potential. I think it's Shedeur Sanders, and I think Quinn Ewers has NFL talent. Although I think Quinn probably would have to sit more than Shedeur to develop. I think I wouldn't rush him out there. But Shedeur, to me, I think has all the NFL qualities that I would look for: sitting in the pocket, setting his feet, delivers a beautiful downfield ball, makes all the intermediate throws. Very smart player. Shows like a leader out there in the field when you watch him, especially some of the well-off media clips on the sideline. I like Shedeur a lot. They're running a lot of NFL concepts with Pat Shurmur there, anyways. So and obviously Shedeur will be ready for the NFL. Who his dad is, and he'll be fine in the NFL.
He's
Now the
been working
problem
with Tom Brady for a couple years too, hasn't
he's one of his mentors.
Yeah.
But I here's the problem with Shedeur Sanders. I don't, Dion mentioned that they would kind of force their way to where they want to go. Then he also retracted a little bit on Club Shay recently and said that they wouldn't fully do that. Obviously, he wants his son to go to a stable, or he just wants his son to go to a stable organization where there's stability.
No,
Right now, Cleveland is far from that. So yeah, so like I said, you have to change. It's like what Sean King said recently about if you want to get Shedeur Sanders, you got to cleanse the whole building first, and put people in there that are stable people. I'm thinking Mike Vrabel would probably be one of those people. I think there's probably some respect there between him and Deion Sanders. I'm sure they might even know each other, but you have to do that first. But that's the only way you're going to get Shedeur Sanders. Other than that, he's probably going to be a Las Vegas Raider as of right now. So because they were up there in the draft, and I know him and he likes Vegas. Him and Mark Davis met for a little bit, and that meeting and publicly, and there's always been some
Giants.
Maybe the Giants, But if you want to get him, you need to make yourself look presentable first. Probably not just with him, but any quarterback, anybody that's smart, with a smart agent. Even Travis Hunter. I know we've Parent you talk about Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter's he's in the Sanders clique. He's in their family, so he's going to do the same thing. They even said it. Travis is going to do the same thing. You have to look presentable. You have to look like a stable organization, and right now they are not that. So but if I wanted to get a quarterback in this draft, I would go with Shedeur. And where you're going to be probably drafting, you could probably get him, but does he actually want to come here? Will he force his way away from here? Because you're not going to draft a guy that doesn't want to be here, obviously. Especially that kind of name and who they are. He said, if we clean house, we calling Dion up. No, I don't think I don't see Dion in the NFL. Do you guys think Deion Sanders being a coach?
No.
I don't. Gergs?
No. Yeah.
I don't either.
No, Deion Sanders is going to be the next. I mean, he will get another head coaching job after Colorado, but it's definitely not going to be.
Well, he's not going to coach anymore. He's only coaching because his kids are playing. So once that shit's over with, he'll be back on TV.
Possibly. I don't think he even said he doesn't want to coach in the NFL because he don't want to deal with the stuff. But he's more suited for college, his personality, than the NFL. But again, if I'm drafting a quarterback, I'm going with Shedeur Sanders. But like I said, you have to look like a stable organization to get him, or he's not coming here. So then Travis Hunter, same thing. So if you're not going to draft quarterback at the draft and you can't get the guy who's probably the best player overall in the draft, and Travis Hunter, what does that tell you? Then you need to make some other changes internally first, because let's say you do run it back with Jameis next year just for the hell of it because you got a bridge guy or a veteran you can throw out there. Maybe you bring back Flacco. I don't know, unless the Colts re-sign him, and you draft a lot of other needs in the draft and stuff. You eventually still got to get a quarterback, maybe Arch Manning if you suck enough next year after. But again, you got to look presentable and you got to have a well-functioning organization, and they are not that right now. The coaching, the front office, everything just looks bad. The play on the field. So, yeah, I'd love Quinshon Judkins. You said right here, can we draft one of the Ohio State running backs? Yeah, I think Quinshon Judkins would be great. He got a lot of similarities to Kareem Hunt. But I brought up the draft because it's kind of interesting, where they should go with the Watson contract. Should they draft a quarterback this year? But again, what we're all saying, though, the three of us here on the panel, I know some other people on the show have been saying, which is it starts with the foundation first, and the foundation so far is it looks very rotted right now. You guys got anything you want to add to that?
What did Mike have to say about today?
Mike didn't say much. I don't think Mike really wanted to come on tonight. To be honest with you, I think he's pretty. He just said they suck. They're 2-8 or 2-7. Then they stink.
I thought they were going on a run.
He made a bet with that. You want to explain this bet Mike made, Dad?
So earlier in the week, Mike was one of those people that was on this Jameis Winston high, or was just so convinced that it was all Deshaun Watson. We just had to get Deshaun Watson out, and that was going to solve everything. And so we're
out to eat.
We're out to eat the other night, getting some wings, the three of us, and he said that I was bitching about the Browns, and we were arguing about the Browns, and he said to me, he says, I watched the game too. And so he then went on to say that they're going to go on a run. And I said, what's a run? We said, okay, we got 9 games left. What's a run? They're going to go 7-2. So I tried to get him to bet $1,000, $5,000, whatever. And so we set it on a much lesser amount. And
$50.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say what it is, but 7-2. I mean,
and the reason why I pointed out the value, because if you're more confident, you raise the value.
They're going 7-2. It's just that easy. It was just that easy. Watson's out. I mean, we're going to Super Bowl. I mean, it's just these people that have went on and said this the
shit that was said on Cleveland.
Where are they all at tonight? Where are they all at? That's right. They won't come on. Where are they? None of them. Mm-hmm. None of them will come on.
I'm curious what they're going to be saying all week, too. That's going to be, I cannot wait to see the bullshit they're going to be saying this week, because not everybody, but the stuff I heard last week from YouTubers and YouTube channels and Cleveland radio and Cleveland Airways, and how we found our guy, and then he comes out and throws for 3 interceptions today, and you basically scored 3 points the whole game.
We found our guy.
And that the whole offense was solved, and it changed everything changed. The one that got me, and I got to bring this up because this kind of pissed me off when I heard this shit, was guys decided to start playing harder again. Guys started running, getting open, and guys were actually getting open again because miles per hour said they're getting open, or some analytics said, look at the data, and guys are playing hard. Linemen decide to block again last week because Jameis was back there because he's their guy, and all this shit I heard. And number one, let me just say something. Anybody who thought the players when Watson was in there were playing half speed or taking plays off, you clearly don't know what the hell you're talking about. You've never been a player at any level, because what's the number one cause of guys getting hurt? And this is what Matt McChesney, former NFL player,
taking plays off.
Taking half-hearted
football.
When you play half speed, right, exactly. When you play half speed, you get hurt. When you get hurt, you mess with your money. You mess with and you're not going to put bad tape out there either. Because again, at the end of the day, it's all about protecting their bottom line. It doesn't matter what the situation is. You got to put good tape out there. You have to stay healthy. That's how you make money in the NFL. You don't want a bad reputation either as a player. And that's how you get coaches fired too. You don't want that reputation. So if you're going to say they were taking plays off, you might as well say they quit on their coach too. But
I find it, yeah. Well, first and foremost, that would be that goes back to the coach.
Coaches get their ass fired over that shit.
Yeah, I'm sure all 52 other guys just, you know what? Let me listen to this Watson guy. We're listening to Jameis. We're listening to this towel waver. This guy is a career towel waver. This is the guy he's got command of this team. Yeah, he stepped into the huddle. I mean, and he just changed everything. I mean, the people saying that shit, don't please stop watching football. Just stop pretending. Stop. Just you're hurting the game just by watching it. I mean, I don't get it. And it's all these guys that never and here 9 out of 10 of them never even played football before, you know, and they got a fantasy team, and so all of a sudden, you know, they look at some data, and so now all of a sudden they're football gurus. You know what I mean? And that's why they love this front office, because they identify with these guys, these freaking geeks in this office. They identify with them. So yeah, everybody's an expert, but it's just easy. Football's never changed. It's always been the same. I'm 47 years old. It's all I've ever football. I mean, my God, we played on concrete when we were kids. We played on the basement floor. We played on tackle football on the street. It's all we did. We played football. Watch football. Football's never changed. It has to be played a certain way, and there's certain things that have to happen, and it's not that difficult. And if those things don't happen, you have this mess of what we call the Cleveland Browns. It just looks like total. It don't even look like a pro football team. It just, you don't feel like you're watching a professional football team play football.
They have no mental toughness.
They're weak. They have no identity. They have no heart. They have zero heart. And that goes back to the coach. So, but here, you know what? Let's just keep listening to all these guys that don't know what the hell they're talking about. They played some Madden and got a fantasy team going, and they're experts now. And I don't say that I'm an expert by no means, but I think I have a good understanding of it. I mean, played, coached. It's just not a hard thing to understand. You went into trenches, you build offensive lines, and you build everything around your quarterback. You run the ball consistently, establish the run. It's just the foundations of football. It's never going to change. It's always been like that, and it's always going to be that way.
Yeah, that drove me nuts when I was hearing that stupid shit. And then you see the same problems today. So did they quit on Winston now too? How about your offensive line looks like shit because they're constantly in 2-point stances and pass protection, and they get tired. They can't establish themselves, their dominance, because they're not in the run game ever. Moving forward, they're always moving backwards, and your running backs are not running in stride towards the line of scrimmage. They're always running from side to side out of the gun in a basic zone scheme. How about that? I don't get it. Yeah. Anyways, that one really got me. But
that's what's in our front office. These same type of people.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And you hit the nail right. It's why people identify with that shit. That's why they love it. Yeah. Why can't Cleveland just have normal things happen to us, man? Always have to be so damn extra with us fans. Yeah, it's crazy. We live in Northeast Ohio. We live where football was made, not too far from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it's just sad. This is what our franchise is every year. It's just the absolute drizzling shits, the factory of sadness. And yeah, best fans in the world is the product they get every Sunday. Mostly consistently, this is the product. So unbelievable. But we shouldn't be really surprised though. I said I was going to play this video again earlier because I think it needs to be noted again, needs to be played again. I'm going to keep playing it over and over and over again until they make the changes, because Albert Breer back in 98-5 in Boston earlier this season nailed it right on the head. And why they actually fired Alex Van Pelt And going back earlier to what I showed about the air raid attack, and we watch this team like you guys just said, they have no identity, no toughness, no nothing. And last week they played to their strengths more. They play more under center, more running the ball, committing to the run, play more Deontay Foreman with Chubb, more play action. You saw the result. Granted, it was against the worst secondary in the league, but again, they had that defense on their heels most of that game because of the way they were playing. And this week we come out and we just completely abandon what we did last week. They go more spread offense, more 5 wide, more in the gun. And it goes back to what Jimmy Haslam wanted from CBS Sports 2 years ago. We want that air raid offense. This is from Jonathan Jones at CBS, like I said. This is from Tony Grossi. He also said it. And then you hear Aditi Kinkabwala on the All the Cleveland Sports Show 2 weeks ago talking about how she doesn't think Kevin Stefanski is a full autonomy. And she has a pretty good relationship with Kevin Stefanski. Sean Kane also said he heard from Deshaun Watson's camp there's a big disconnect in communication-wise in the building. And so you're hearing this from multiple different places, but the message seems to be pretty consistent. And so why did you fire Alex Van Pelt anyways? Because Ken Dorsey, he likes to throw the ball around a lot. Like I said earlier, it was one of his big critiques when he was in Buffalo was he would always abandon the run. They even mentioned today on the broadcast, he would always abandon the run. He likes to throw more. He likes the air raid. So, of course, you'd bring a guy like Ken Dorsey in. But why would you fire the guy last year with all those different styles of quarterbacks and was still successful and made the playoffs? Why would you fire him? Well, I thought what Albert Breer said. This was all the way back, I believe, in February, a long time ago. Here's what he had to say about it from what he heard. He's pretty plugged in.
The reason he was let go in Cleveland was because ownership and Paul DePodesta, not Kevin Stefanski, ownership and Paul DePodesta were frustrated with the progress Deshaun Watson had made. I don't think that they really, truly, the people who made that decision really, truly knew his value to that staff. And other people on that staff, not so much Kevin, but people below him, were floored when they fired him for 2 reasons. Number one, how do you fire the offensive coordinator after you just won 11 games with 4 different quarterbacks, with your 4th and 5th tackles, without Nick Chubb,
including at least 2 or 3 of those guys that nobody's ever heard of, right? I mean, you're talking about Jeff Driscoll, PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Like, those are some of the guys he was working with.
So you just went through that, right? I mean, Zoe, how often do you see teams survive losing 1 tackle, let alone 3? They lost their first 3 tackles for the year.
Yeah, usually don't. I mean, look at the New England Patriots this year. You really had no tackles. There's no tackle depth. There's no tackle depth across the league, period.
Yeah.
And he was able to help build an offense that was able to sustain with Joe Flacco coming off the couch, with their 4th and 5th tackles, without Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt coming back in. So there's that. Like, that I think is one reason why people there were floored that he got fired. The other one I think is the real key, though. He was the glue of that staff. Kevin, if you know him, he's a great guy. He's not the most outgoing guy. He's just sort of like his personality is very dry. He's got a good sense of humor, but he's not like this outwardly gregarious guy. Alex was the one that held that staff together. When guys were coming out, when guys were going in, he is a guy who was a unifying force in that building. And after the year the Patriots just came off of.
Every time you hear that, Dad, and then you watch the game today, it seems to be more and more true what he said. And that was all the way back in, I think, January. End of January was actually.
Well, yeah. I'm going to go back to that slide you put up. The air raid offense in Tennessee. What has Tennessee done? What has Tennessee done other than what has Alabama always done? Alabama's always run the ball first. Georgia, run the ball first. So the teams that dominated in the SEC run the ball. Look at all these running backs that have been created they've come out of Alabama and Georgia. Now they throw the ball. I mean, Alabama's put out some great receivers too, but Saban's always established a run. And Tennessee has done nothing in the SEC. Other than the last couple of years where they've been decent, they've actually got up there and been ranked. They weren't even ranked. So I don't know why in the hell Jimmy Haslam would be so infatuated with that. It hasn't gotten Tennessee anywhere. because the teams that actually run the ball in the SEC are the ones that dominate. Well, I should say the two teams that have dominated run the ball. So, yeah, I what he was saying, Breer was saying is, you know, you win 11 games last year after all that shit, and you just fired a guy. That's the thing that makes, you know, if I'm an outsider, if I'm another, you know, if I'm a coach or somebody that might work in a front office in some fashion, or a player, you know, I look at that kind of shit and I'm like, man, do I want to go play for this organization? I mean, this is what they do to people. So, yeah, it's just disheartening. And, you know, he was there with the Packers too, all those years too. You know, I mean, it's not like Van Pelt's some slouch and hasn't been proven. But he's also, you know Van Pelt's a football guy. He's a football guy. He's a Dorsey guy, definitely, because he was in Green Bay. So he didn't fit the he didn't fit the mold, or he didn't share the same ideas as that front office.
Oh yeah, and even says right there too, Stefanski, offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt, will insist that their system is rooted in the running game, which worked in 2020 when they made it to the divisional round. Remember that? But that is only true to the extent that the Browns desire an effective running game, essentially to set up a play-action passing game. Yeah, they want more of the shots down the field. They laid it. Tony Grossi said this 2 years ago. And it was laughed at by people around Cleveland, and you see it now, and you see some of the other reports, like I've been showing you for the last 5 minutes, and you hear what Albert Breer said and what everybody else has been saying. It's pretty obvious what the whole screw up was in a lot of this, and obviously the trade with Deshaun Watson. Yeah, they didn't execute that properly either, and when they making the trade, number one, and then I think they miscalculated a lot of things there. But I mean, I don't understand. I don't see how you could keep this regime around. You know, yes, Jimmy Haslam's probably a lot at fault for a lot of this. He's made a lot of these decisions, but you have to restart somewhere, and this ain't the move. And until they do that, we could sit and talk about drafts. We could talk about who they should trade and, you know, get assets back for it, blah, blah, blah. It ain't going to matter until the foundation is fixed.
Well, yeah, that's another thing there should be more emphasis on, you know, other than draft picks and free agency signings and how contracts are handled, but just what they did with their OC, that decision that was made to just fire that guy, and who made it? It wasn't Watson. Watson didn't fire him.
Nope.
It didn't fire the guy. Who made the decision? Who convinced the owner it had to happen? I mean, that's pretty bad. That, you know, when you sit there and listen to Albert Breer say all that, and you look at it in that context, you're like, damn, that is pretty bad. That's like, it just doesn't even seem like it's possible that a guy would get fired coming out of a season like that. And it's how do they not know? And that's the other thing. How do they not know who's the glue? Who's the glue of the offense? Yeah. How does the front office not know this? Or do they just not care because they want what they want? Either way, it's bad. It's bad, and it makes them look bad. And no matter which way you cut it. So these guys don't do anything right. Just get rid of the DePodesta. It's just here. Everything has been bad that they've done. It's horrible. And now you're seeing it. The hourglass is emptying. You know, the guys that they've brought in, the free agents they brought in, the guys that they did draft, that Dorsey drafted, that were good quality players. You know, they're now in midway through their careers. The hourglass is emptying. I mean, their window of opportunity is now it's closed. They don't have it. They don't have the picks because they made the Watson trade. They have not. Here, when they signed him, they had a few years to make that shit work. and they didn't make it work. They made it worse, and now you're back to got to blow it up. You have to blow it up and just start back over.
You got anything you want to add to all that, Gergs? What the Breer said or anything like that?
It's just a poorly ran organization. I mean, same old same.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
None of it surprises you.
We're never going to get a new owner. You know what I mean? So it's like, you just got to like hope. Who knows? I mean, the only thing you can hope for is the owner would say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to focus on trying to get a new stadium built. I'm going to hand the keys over to a new GM or president of football operations. And let this person just run the football day-to-day operations with the football team.
Yeah, you get an owner with advisors, like Martha Ford, she went out and hired Spielman, Dorsey, those guys,
right.
And then they hired the GM and, football guys that are making these decisions to hire GMs and everything like that. I mean, that is what's important. Haslam isn't probably a football guy. So who is he to hire the general manager? I mean, come on. No, go out, get advisors.
Paul DeBodesta has been the big advisor in a lot of that, Chris. Do you think he knows how to hire?
What'd you say?
I said Paul DeBodesta has actually been the big advisor in hiring all these guys. You think he knows?
No. DeBodesta he's not a football guy. I said football guys.
Oh no, I'm saying you said Haslam though. I'm saying I throw DeBodesta in there too. They're linked.
Oh well, no, Haslam that dude stinks.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
That dude was just getting them into a good financial position. That's all he was there for, I thought. And then now actually.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking. People would need to remember what those two guys were brought in for, him and Barry. And that was when they formatted the team and wiped the team out and started over, wiped all the money. And they did what they were supposed to do. Now get rid of them. They should. Yeah. He should have got rid of them as soon as that was done. Haslam should have got rid of those idiots. He should know what those guys are capable of and what they're not capable of. So they did their job with the money and to rebuild. Wipe the team out. And once that was done, they should have just stuck with Dorsey, or someone that's equivalent, or somebody that knows football, an actual football person.
Well, Dorsey's in Detroit, so you ain't getting him back.
Right.
Well, and not only that, I'm gonna throw this out there. It may seem like a pipe dream to most people, but if you have Mike Vrabel and let's say you make changes, you put Mike Vrabel as your head coach, I would think in order to hand the keys off, like you said, Dad, or he could just focus on the stadium, you have to make a splash at GM. I think I think you have to hire a notable name that fans will buy into, and they'll forget about a lot of the last couple of years.
You have to, absolutely, you have to, because you have to get the fans bought back into the football and the hope of winning, which ultimately gets you a stadium.
And what's the one name you think they would call?
Bill. Big Bill.
I would call him like, how much?
Right. Absolutely. Bill. Absolutely. You know what? First, because he cares. The dude cares, and he's a winner. You know what I mean? And he knows how to operate it. He knows how to operate a team. So,
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I think this week, folks, is turn to the Browns. It's gonna be one hell of a week. It could be. We'll see what happens. I mean, if Kevin Stefanski's still on the sideline next Sunday, how are you going to be feeling as a Browns fan, Dad? Or, excuse me, not next Sunday. 2 weeks from now, it's in New Orleans, and they ran it back. They traded away a lot of guys though. Njoku's gone, let's say, but they kept everybody, and they're running it. They're running it back again next game.
Just not surprised. I wouldn't be. When when these things happen in Cleveland, you're just not surprised. And that's the thing that's alarming.
Would you even tune into the game?
No, I mean, here I got back today, helping your uncle, and
but I'm saying though,
I'm falling asleep in a chair. I mean, there was nothing else going on. I mean, if I was really that into the game, I wouldn't have been falling asleep.
That's my point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, no.
Dan said Cleveland already ran Belichick out of town once, and even he can't fix this.
Well, no one knows that for sure, but I don't know if they ran him out. They just sold the team. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I mean it was a unique situation, but he's always said since then that it's kind of like an incomplete on his you know what I mean? Something he always felt incomplete about. He never got to finish it here because it didn't mean a lot to him. He made that clear in that documentary, the '95 Browns.
Yeah.
Chef Brian K. Yeah, it's time. Let Kevin fly to the Eagles. Yeah, you're probably right. I think that seems to be. I know him and Howie Roseman have a long time relationship that's documented. And it always seems like the Eagles are going to fire Nick Sirianni, or fans are pushing for it every week. So I actually could see Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. Remember, Andrew Berry went to Philly for a year with Howie Roseman. I don't think Andrew Berry. Gergs, do you think Andrew Berry would get hired as GM right away if he got fired somewhere else?
No.
Okay, so I could see him going back to Philly in the same role he was with Howie Roseman before he got hired here, and I could see Kevin going there too as the head coach. I mean, I could totally see them hiring him as their head coach.
I could see Ryan Day going there too.
Possibly as the OC. I don't think him and Kevin would work. I don't see that, but I don't know. Where I think Ryan will go, I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure we'll get some. If he leaves, you'll hear more. But let's see.
Here, I can tell you this: Stefanski does not look. He don't even look happy.
Eagles are 6-2 and heading to the playoffs. They aren't hired Stefanski. If they flop in the playoffs, though, they're probably going to fire their coach because their fans are calling. I mean, they are ruthless in Philly. All I hear constantly is they need to get rid of Sirianni. But what are you going to say, Dad?
Stefanski, his demeanor on the sideline and also the press conferences, it's unlike it ever has been. He's not even happy. I wouldn't be shocked. And I said this they were in the offseason, if he just resigned. He just strikes me as that type of guy that just would resign.
Probably at the end of the season, though.
Yeah, he just would resign. I think a lot of things, like I said, I think he's probably been shit on quite a bit too. You know what I mean? Yeah, he probably didn't want. He's one that brought Van Pelt was his OC, and I'm sure he probably didn't agree with that decision. So, and there's probably lots of other things, and you could see it in his face. So he probably wants out too. Everybody wants the hell out.
Yeah, he doesn't have the full autonomy. Clearly, that's right. I do think he got shit on a bit. But Chef Brian K said, "I'm so tired of quote. We got to do better. That's on all of us. No, Kev, it's on you, dude."
And that's exactly what I even said that. That's all he ever says. We got to do better. We got to do better.
Got to look at the tape. Got to do better. You know who said? You know who constantly said that too, and they didn't disclose his contract numbers? Was Hugh Jackson. He got fired. Right. So,
we got to do better. Here, I want an explanation. Not we got to do better. No shit. So tell me what you're going to do to improve.
I know it's like I hear people on the radio after the game today saying, "Well, they got to figure it out." What's there to figure out anymore? Like at some point, it's kind of like they're not like people act like they're just going to turn it around one day and start putting games together. We thought they turned it around last week, and they came back this week and absolutely just laid it.
Yeah, they got to figure it out.
Complete shit show today.
Well, they
We
say the
didn't think
obvious.
that.
Well,
They say the obvious.
Not us, but well, you know what I mean. Browns fans that as a whole that we figured it out last week, a lot of them, and we came back today and it was back to reality. So of what's been mostly consistent, not only this year but in previous years.
It's just like when a sideline reporter today asked Harbaugh, "Hey, they got so many sacks. Herbert's been sacked X amount of times," and he's just like, "Yeah, we got to protect the quarterback." You know, but these people say the obvious, but they don't. You know what I mean? And it is pretty bad when the coach says the obvious too. That's all he ever says is, "We got to do better." Okay, well, coach, as a fan, a paying fan, and someone that pays to spend on lots of games and pays money, and I think I deserve and pay for cable to watch football. I think I deserve, and all the fans deserve, an explanation as how you're going to get better. What are you going to do this week so that you're better next week? You know what I mean? It would just be such a breath of fresh air to get something like that, but that'll never happen.
We're going to hear from, because it's the bye week, I think we'll hear from the front office and ownership this week too. I'm really curious to see what ownership has to say. If they say these are our guys, we're going to – oh, boy. Good luck. Good luck. I think if they say they're running it back with their guys in this regime and, Watson's still their guy coming off of 2 major injuries now, I'm done. Yeah, I don't see bring Bill back, man. He's got some unfinished business here. This is pretty cool right here. Chef Brian K says, "I'm 60 years in and growing very weary. When Dad took me to 64 championship, I had no clue how long it would be to get back." Wow, that's unbelievable. That's crazy. That's
damn.
Wow. Salute to you, Chef Brian K. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. That's crazy. That is crazy. Somebody that was at the game and didn't. How many years later?
Damn, that's amazing. What a memory. Beat the 64 championship. See here, Chef Brian, you're
60 years later.
You're the people that I feel bad for the most. Yeah, I wanted them to win one so bad for Jim Brown. You know what I mean? Remember me saying that? Like, gosh, I just want him to win one for Jim Brown. Jim Brown has been waiting all these years. You know what I mean? And then you got this guy, Chef Brian, and so many other fans that have just been in there for decades and decades and decades and just still waiting. My gosh. Terrible.
He said I was 5 years old in 64. Wow. That's crazy. 60 years. That's sad. I'm 25 years old. It's like you said, pair of giant right here. Dane, man, I hope my kids don't grow up with this Browns I grew up with. Shaking my head. I'm 25 years old, and my whole life, all I've seen is just terrible football shit. 4-12, 3 wins, 5 wins, botched draft picks. It's always our year. Terrible. I mean, I've seen the most the craziest plays ever on the field. I mean, I remember Brandon Weed, and my favorite one is 2013. They're playing the Lions at home, and you might remember this, Gersh. It was against the Lions, and Brandon Weed rolled out right at the end of the game. They need a touchdown. He tries shuffling the ball, and in between the ball and the receiver is a defender, and he tries like lobbing the ball like a sidearm, like a lob, like a toss. And I remember I sat there as a 13-year-old and I said, "What in the hell is this shit that I've been watching I'm only 13. This is terrible. Like, yeah, I even know not to do that." And then you watch 0-16, and I remember sitting there in that last play of that season in Pittsburgh when Coleman dropped the ball. And I'm sitting there as a 17-year-old. I'm sitting in that screen room, and I'm like, can they just win a game? And I'm on my feet, like hoping they can they just win one game? I don't want to go in 16. And he drops the ball. I remember I just sat back in my chair. I literally just looked at the TV like this, and then I just sat back. I sat back in the chair, and I just sat there for a while and just stared at the wall. And I was just like, I couldn't believe what I'd watched. I remember on the radio they were playing scary music every time they talk about the Browns. Like it was like scary music, and it's like watching a horror show. I mean, it was absolutely awful. I mean, it was. I mean, it's just been nothing but shit. I mean, 2020 is the best year I've ever seen. You know, they should have won the divisional game, but they lost to Chad Henne. But even like games like that, Mahomes gets hurt, and we let Chad Henne run 13 yards up the middle to beat us. Chad Henne, glue factory. I mean, Dustin Moore was on the radio the next day, said, I played against Chad Henne in college. And I mean, I just, and then last year, we look like we have a good run going. We got Flacco. Looks like he's still got something left in the tank. And then we get to the playoff game and just an absolute, dud. It's just been nothing but garbage my whole life. And it's constantly firing coaches, new this, new that, new quarterbacks. And the quarterback carousel since '99. That's the year I was born. Just nonstop, just boom, boom, new quarterback. I've seen every quarterback. We've seen them all. I mean, seen them all. Joseph, you were born 11 years after the last time this team won its own division. 11 years since 90. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Since '88, they have not won a division. That is pathetic. He said, yeah, Chiefs grabbed the fastest 40 guy at the combine in the 7th round, and he starts. Exactly. And they develop players, 100%. They develop players. That's why they're successful. They're well ran, and they have stability. Anybody but Nick Chubb and Miles, Ward, Hurt, or Toast. Yeah. I'll talk about who you would trade.
Now, think about what Dan said. We're going on 40 years. We're closing in on 40 years since they won a division. That's mind-boggling.
That is mind-boggling. You can't, out of 3 other teams in your division, you can't win 1 year out of those 40.
40 years. That really hit me because I was 11 years old, and I remember those. Here, I've told you the stories. I remember those teams. I still remember what I was doing during those games. I still remember the music all over the radio. I remember the specials everywhere, pizza shops, everything. Everything was about the Browns. It's just, and to sit and think that was 40 years ago. That is absolutely nuts. Or, 36 years, but eclipsing 40 years, coming up on 40 years. It's just crazy.
He said the Houston Oilers and Jacksonville Jaguars have won our division more recently than us, and they aren't even in it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that because the Oilers weren't a division.
In fact, the Oilers aren't even a franchise.
Yeah, and it's not only that, the guys, the careers they've wasted. The jersey up there in the top right screen of the top right of the screen there, that's my jersey from our national championship team. I was starting center, and I wore 73 because of Joe Thomas. I was a young kid growing up in the Joe Thomas era. That was my guy. He's my favorite player, still is of all time. Why I wore 73. And look what we did with that guy's career. I mean, you had, the premier left tackle of all left tackles. I mean, Mr. Durability, bought into the city, the perfect player. And at all those years, what did your team produce with it? Nothing. It just, yeah. He said the Browns make me smoke weed. It heals the pain from being a Browns fan. Well, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, I got to pop CBD after watching that game, but gosh. It's going to be one hell of a week, though, like I said. Hey, at least the Cavs are doing well, Oh, yeah, Chef Brian said, puff and pass, sir. LOL. Yeah, pass it around the table, will you? We'll do that from here on out the rest of the season. We'll just be puffing and passing up here. But you know, hey, at least the Cavs are doing well though. I want to give them some spotlight real quick because I am gonna be talking more about the Cavs on this show. I got some more Cavs guys. These guys will be up here as well, but I got some other guys I'm trying to get up here. Guys who are new, but they're really into the Cavs and know it very well. And we're gonna be covering the Cavs a lot more. 7-0 right now. Donovan Mitchell, a big game winner last night. That team right now is the best team in basketball. They look great. Kenny Atkinson, the coaching change, unbelievable so far. I think he's brought a lot of those same, system they had in Golden State, the more off-ball movement, cutting, putting Mobley more at the pinch post, getting Mobley more with the ball in his hands, being a playmaker. You see more of the introverted pick and rolls, where he is the 4-man of the 5 will be the ball handler, and the 2 or the 1 will come set the screen. And it's very hard to stop. And Jared Allen looks like an all-star again. The core 4 looks like through the system they found a balance. JB was a good coach, but JB wasn't good at the X's and O's a lot of times, and he's more of a guy that's more of a development guy and good defensive fundamentals and stuff. But I think this team right now, they're the best in basketball so far, and I like what I'm seeing. They're going to be very tough down the stretch, especially the more Mobley gets better and gets more comfortable and grows. Jersey, your take on the Cavs so far this season?
Your Cavs looked awesome, man. They're just dominating too. I mean, I watched that Lakers game, and they just made the Lakers just look like a college team. I mean, just how physical they were, blocking their shots. I mean, it just looked like this looked like a giant mismatch. But it seems like every time I look at the score, they're up 15, 17, 20. But just the ball movement and and you called it. I'm gonna give you the credit. You called it when they hired him. You had said what's going to happen with Mobley, and I've always been a Mobley fan. I've said that I think at one point he's going to be one of the top 5 players in basketball, and but now he's actually being utilized properly, and look what's happening. You know what I mean? So, and they look like they're having fun out there. They're playing ball the right way. You can already see chemistry. You know what I mean? And so it just goes back to what I always say, coaching. You know what I mean? And this guy comes from a winning organization that's won, and he nice passed on to these guys. So so far it looks like it's a great hire, and I wish Dan Gilbert would buy the Browns.
Yeah, and it's funny you make a good point because remember everybody last year said Evan Mobley. He's not everybody. It's funny how the media. He's not the unicorn. He's not as good as they thought he was going to be. You heard all this shit, and I kept saying on this show, you guys are full of it. He's just out of place. The coaching,
right,
is not helping him, and because he's not in the right positions, and you're seeing a lot of that. A lot of the same shit we said about the Browns tonight. You can apply. Or people say about Evan Mobley right now, you could apply to a lot of stuff we said about the Browns players tonight. A lot of them are out of place. They're poorly coached. They're not put in the right position to be successful. And one coaching change, and now everybody's, he is the unicorn. He is that guy. When you really watched the tape last year at times, he still showed you in flashes. Hell, he won you a playoff game on both ends of the floor defensively. That game 5 in the Magic series, they put Mobley on Banchero, and Banchero was having a hot night, and he didn't score a basket the last 2 minutes of that game. And Mobley made all the plays, the game-winning shot or game-winning block to win that game was effective on both ends. I mean, he is a force. He's like a Garnett guy on both ends. He's that talented. But he was out of place a lot of times offensively. The whole offense was. It was a lot of stagnant one-on-one, no ball movement, guys standing in the corner with their thumb up their ass. This year, you're seeing a team that plays with pace. Last year, they were always low in pace. They're playing with more pace now. They play to their strengths, something the Browns. Everything I'm naming about the Cavs with the coaching change, the Browns should be taking notes of what the Cavs have been doing, how to run an organization, how to let their coach do their job, when to know when to make a coaching change because your team needs it, right? And how to have a healthy culture, a winning culture. Everybody told us Donovan Mitchell was going to leave. He was definitely out of town. Well, he just signed an extension. He loves it here. So. But again, it's because you have the right people running it. You have a healthy culture. You have stability. The foundation's good, right? Something the Browns don't have. And so, yeah, I watched that team. The pace, just the development now with Coach Atkinson. He's just the ultimate players coach. He's in the locker room dancing with them after the games, and he comes from a pretty good pedigree himself. Comes from successful organizations. has been a champion as a coach on a staff. I mean, he's seen success and he's implemented it here. And they didn't make any moves either. The only move they made was, not even say a move, is just Ty Jerome was hurt last year. Now he's back healthy, and he's a 6'5" guard off the bench. It's typically what you want when you have two smaller guards in your starting lineup. You want a bigger guard off the bench. So you're not taxing the guard, both the guards as much, excuse me. You have a bigger guard you can put out there in certain lineups. He's 6'5", can shoot. Defensively, he's really good. I think they're really good right now. The only move, I think, it's all about beating Boston. That's the team you got to get through. Philly's hurt. They're a mess. I mean, Joel Embiid just attacked a reporter the other day in the locker room or beat him up or some shit, and he's going to yeah, you didn't hear about that, did you? Yeah, Embiid Ticket TV. Shot the Ticket. He did a thing last night. Embiid slapped the shit out of some reporter or something. He said something about his family and probably get suspended for a while. But anyways, that's a dumpster fire in Philly. Paul George hurt again. Like PG, love his game, man. He can't stay healthy, and Fat Lowry. Kyle Lowry's out there. On the team right now. Doc Rivers, he's completely lost his touch in a lot of things, especially on the basketball court. That team's poorly coached in Milwaukee.
Doc Rivers doesn't coach them.
He should be coaching, period, anymore. I used to like him. I know. I'm talking about the Bucks. I'm moving on to each team in the East.
Oh, gotcha. Oh.
No, I know. Yeah, Nick Nurse coaches the Sixers.
Yeah.
I'm talking about each team in the East. The Bucks. I should name the Bucks. I'm sorry. The Bucks with Doc Rivers. They're a mess. I mean, you watched them last night. They just get. It's funny they lost. They lost the game last night. You listen to their broadcast. They're like, the Bucks almost won it again. They're one win in the season. They only have one win.
They almost won it.
Yeah, almost won it.
Yeah, that's all right. They almost won.
The Knicks, I'm not sold on the Knicks at all. They're too ball dominant now. That was a bad trade by them. Karl Anthony Towns does not. He's either dunking the ball or he's shooting threes. It's just everybody stand around and watch Brunson pound the hell out of the ball. It's not good basketball. They should have kept what they had. They have no shooting now and toughness and the versatility they had with Randall. Bad trade out of them. I'm not worried about the Knicks. I look in the East, like I said, it's just Boston. And that starting five with Boston is still the best in the NBA. With that five they put out there with White, Holiday, Brown, Tatum, and Porzingis, that's a hell of a. It's the best one. That's what you got to get through.
Yeah.
So when I watch them compared to that, I think you have to have one more. I would try to get probably Finney Smith from the Nets at the deadline, or somebody like that who's a good two-way player. A Wayne, 6'8", has little more size. I think you need that. I think if they can get that on the defensive side, and if Mobley continues to develop more as an offensive force, especially down on the post, I think then they have a shot. But it's all about getting through. It's all about matching up with Boston, because I think our guards will compete with theirs. I think Jared Allen's been a pretty good force down low, and Jared Allen doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful and impact the game. So it's all about Mobley, and I think having that extra size and Wayne on the perimeter, two-way guy in the playoffs against Boston. I think they got to try to identify that via trade. I like Dean Wade, but I don't like him defensively as much. He's been good enough, but I think in a 7-game series against Boston, I think you need one more body out there defensively, more size, like 6'8" or above.
If you're in a 7-game series with Boston, Dean Wade better not be on the court, or you're going to lose.
You can play him in spots, but I agree. I wouldn't start him at my 3, not against Jaylen Brown and Tatum at the wings. That's what I'm saying. You got to get a more athletic two-way guy defensively. Yeah.
Like a Josh Giddey from Chicago.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I think there's some guys out there that they can snag. I mean, that are cheaper too. Because because there's gonna be some guys. I mean, Brooklyn's got a couple guys. I like Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson be perfect.
He's a bucket.
He's a bucket, but you have to give up a little more. His contract's a little higher. He would be the perfect fit because he's almost 6'10". He's kind of like your Michael Porter Jr. for your team in a way. He's a great two-way player. I like him a lot. But they just got to get that one more guy. I think Mobley will continue to be a force in this offense down low because Atkinson. I believe in Atkinson that much as a coach. He's just a smart offensive coach. Cam Johnson would be nice. Man, LeBron should have come back home and won more title before his juice runs out. That's the only way he can get the GOAT status then. Yeah, his only thing was what he's doing this year, getting his money and playing with his son. Get ready to go be an owner in a couple of years. So, Dan should buy the Browns. He has the money. What do you say? He's talking about Dan a lot. Dan has earned his stripes. Oh, Dan Gilbert. You got me confused. I'm sorry. Dan has earned his stripes in this town and respect from us fans. He's the only one with the ring. I agree. Everybody used to say Dan Gilbert was the worst owner. I think he's the best owner by far, and it's not even close in all aspects. In running, in paying the money, number one, he pays money. He'll shed out the money. I think he paid $75 million in taxes when LeBron was here for them to have that team. He's aggressive. He wants to win. He's mostly hired the right people. He got LeBron to come back, and he went all in on the team. And everybody, when LeBron left for LA, everybody said this franchise will never be anything again. And look at him now. He's turned it around and hired the right people again and made the right changes when necessary. He also has a nice, beautiful stadium. His in-game experience, the Cavs' in-game experience, has always been far above anybody else's in this town. The other teams, by far.
Probably the best in sports.
All right, one of the best in sports, and that's actually been documented. They were ahead of a lot of people in the NBA. They were one of the first teams in the NBA to actually give the opposing team, him and Mark Cuban were the first two to give the opposing team food, like good quality, like real meals after the game, taking care of even the opponents. And guys that stood out to a lot of guys. And he got Donovan Mitchell to stay. You got to give him his credit. He's by far the best owner. I don't think it's even close.
It's not close. He's
in a class of his own.
Yeah.
Compared to these other two.
From the time he bought the team, I mean, I remember he immediately just started investing money into that in that arena,
And then city. Look what he's done with the city. He's got this beautiful new building being built. This practice facility looks beautiful. It's gonna be built right there on the front now. I mean,
casinos.
Yeah,
so, I mean, yeah, he's been a really good owner. I mean, you can just tell when you go up there, go to the games, everything. They've always been like
first class,
cutting edge. They've always been like ahead of everybody else as far as like, I mean, it is a little weird. Like everything's called a portal now, the tunnels you go into and stuff. But I mean, just everything looks beautiful. It seems like every time I go up there, the team shop's been renovated again. I mean, they do everything. They're ahead of the curve, man. Yeah, and that's here. I mean, if you look at it, that's why his freaking mortgage company is the freaking most. I mean, just a conglomerate. I mean, it's just monster. Dude's done a hell of a job. So he's a hell of a businessman.
Yeah,
and I've read articles about how Rock Financial or Quicken Loans, whatever they want to call it now, or Rocket Mortgage, how those companies are run internally, and they say they're some of the best companies there to work for. Just the things that they do internally for employees and the opportunities and a lot of people love working there. So, that probably carries on to his other companies and probably certainly with the Cavs. So I think he's done a great job with the Cavs.
Dan said, who would win in a football game, the Browns or the Cavs? Well, the Cavs probably have a better offense.
Cavs win right now.
And they're probably more competitive. So
Cavs would win.
They'd have a better offense. Kenny Atkinson would figure out that offense, even in football.
All right.
Brandon Oates, who said, where's Mike?
Everybody's want to know where Mike is.
Where's Mike? I don't know. He just, he said he went out to get a drink. So
it's easy to be on here flaunting when they win. But unfortunately, it's only been 2 times this season. And it won't be much more.
Yeah, ain't many, not many more wins coming down the hatch. Looks like right now, folks. Dan said Mike is in a chat room with other football analysts who think like him, breaking down all 22 data on how we are still going to win 7 games. Mike, I sent you the link, buddy. If you're watching, you come up here and respond right now.
What's he gonna say?
I don't know. Whatever he wants to say. I mean, I don't know. It's to David Dan. I don't know. I'm just.
We got Jameis.
Yeah, I think he's
It's
off.
all Watson's fault.
When I heard him on the phone today, it seemed like he's completely off everything. Just keep Barry. He said that's it.
Yeah.
How about
he
just
told
say,
me?
you know
He
what?
told me he
I was
wouldn't.
wrong.
He told me he wouldn't be. He wouldn't mind Vrabel, but then he also said Vrabel. He said if Stefanski goes to Philly, he'll win a Super Bowl, and we'll still be a 2-win team, and Vrabel will eventually get fired. That was his words. But then he said at the end, he goes, I wouldn't be mad with Vrabel. So I think Mike's just a little upset, but
meanwhile, the Lions. Here's a good one for you
the
guys.
Lions, there you go.
The Lions have 28 touchdowns in the last 5 games, and they only have 24 incompletions.
They kicked ass last week in that game. Was it 50-something points? Jeez.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the Lions in Baltimore.
You think
Yeah, that's the way they pound that ball, man. They run that ball. And
well, yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry's been a big plus for them, but I don't like their secondary. I'm going to say Lions and Chiefs. Until I see Mahomes get beat, I'm not going against them.
Yeah.
I'm not going against him and Andy Reid. And what
That's tough to do that. I agree.
They're 7-0. They're 7-0 right now. I mean, they're just humming. I mean, them and the Lions, they're the 2 best teams to me by far.
Yeah.
They're consistent.
But I could just
dominant. That'd be a hell of a Super Bowl matchup too.
Yeah, they do want that 3-peat. So
I'm gonna be locked in a room by myself with my phone off.
Yeah. You guys. I tell you what, though, man, that'd be that's if I had one team to go against the Chiefs, that's who I'd want because the coaching is just the way they play.
Gers, we gotta just go to like in a playoff, a Lions playoff game. We got all with Joseph shit. We got to go like to a wing place when I watch a game.
That's totally fine. I won't be able to do it during the Super Bowl. I need to be.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
I know that you want to be home, but like a playoff game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll be rooting for Detroit, man. Here, they're the closest thing to us. You know what I mean? So, and I like what they've done. I like the coach. So
they've done it the right way.
I might be leaning towards Detroit.
I hope they do win it. He's going back to earlier to about Burke. You can't build a stadium on Burke, he said, because it's built on a landfill. It's impossible. You guys probably know more than you might know more with that than us, Jeff Bryan. He said, I think the Detroit wins it this year. Tory Graber, excuse me, whatever it says. Graber, excuse me, says, OMG, Lions will win a Super Bowl before our Browns do. Yeah, probably right. Diggs said, hey, what's up? What's up? Thanks for tuning in, my friend. He said Mike's delusional. Parajohn said, I think Jimmy should realize he needs a change of scenery to go to a different sport, and when another team goes on sale, then go at it again. But please just sell our team, man. Let it go. Yeah, maybe he should focus more on the Columbus Crew and sell the team, but I don't know if he's going to be doing that anytime soon. He did sell the rest of his pilot stuff, his pilot stake, the beginning of this year, so I don't know what he's thinking, but he's trying to build a stadium. He ain't trying to sell the team. But The stadium movement has completely died off. Before the season, it was hot in the streets, and now it's just like, who gives a shit? So, yeah, go Cavs. That's all I got to say. Go Cavs and go Bucks. Good win yesterday. Go Bucks.
Go
good
Knights.
Good win. Yeah, go Knights. That's right. Go Knights. Got win one of the playoffs. Should be looking good this week. And got some big ones coming up down the hatch. So that'd be it's gonna be Division 2 in the OHSAA is by one of the best in the country this year. It's unbelievable. I mean, all regions got great teams in them, great players, great teams, coaches, fan bases. It's awesome. It's really cool. Division 2 this year. It's unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. But Shucks and I, Jersey and I, we were at the game Friday night, first playoff game, and it was a good atmosphere, and there's some good matchups this week, so I'm looking forward to it. But go Lions, Gergs, go Lions. I'll say that for you. Go Lions. Michigan, I don't know what's going on with Michigan this year. What do you think Teron Moore survives this year, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be.
Or do you think it's just a rebuild year? They just kind of throw it aside?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I mean, we have to await our, what they're going to do with the punishment, and before we do anything, we're in a waiting game. We can't just fire them and pick and choose, because, I mean, here we may be banned from postseason in the next 2 years, anyways. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with that? So, I think before they go ahead and try to find a replacement coach, they need to figure that out first. So, yeah, I think he'll end up obviously into the off season, and then we'll figure the rest out. But I don't think it's going to be mid-season firing by any means.
No, not say mid-season, but I mean, what I haven't really, because I've been watching more of the Buckeyes, when I do watch in Colorado mainly. But what has been your analysis of him in his first year as like full-time head coach?
I mean, it's the same. We just, my God, we need a quarterback, a true quarterback, one that can throw the football.
Hey, remember we were talking about at work yesterday? We were talking about, in Ohio, certainly in Ohio, and maybe even Michigan, you got to have a guy the head coach has to be from the state. Was he affiliated with Michigan before he got hired? Is he did he go to Michigan?
No, he where'd they get him from? I can't remember where right now we got him from, but
so he's an outsider.
Yeah, I mean, but he has a lot of the Michigan principles and everything like that. I just think that the talent right now offensively. I mean, here we lost 12 players in the NFL last year. I mean, and it wasn't replenished because a lot
of shit
of
going on.
Exactly.
His playing career, he played at Butler in Kansas. He's from Kansas. Played at Oklahoma, was a guard. Started his coaching career at Louisville as a GA in 2009. Was at Louisville from 2009 to 2013. Finished as a tight ends coach. Went on to Central Michigan for 2 years as a tight ends coach. Then at tight end, and then was kind of assistant head coach, tight end running. So he was a assistant guy at Central Michigan. 2018, Harbaugh brought him over back as a tight ends coach, and then from 2018 to 20, he was the tight ends coach. From 21 to 22, he was the co-OC O-line coach, and then 23, he was the O-line OC and acting head coach when Harbaugh got suspended, and now he's the head coach.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. I think both of those jobs, it has to be a guy from Ohio or a guy from the state that understands that rivalry. You know what I mean? Like Michigan tried with all these different coaches, and they finally brought Harbaugh in, and and he was able to win. And what started it was Ryan Day, and he just doesn't understand it because he's not from Ohio. So it's kind of like beating a dead horse. He just doesn't understand it, and which is why I don't think he's a long-term.
No, I don't think. Like I said earlier, from some of the inside stuff I got from people in the college coaching circles, it sounds like if he wins this year, which we said before the year, I mean, they spent $27 million on this roster and NIL and everything. They're going all in on this year, obviously, to win. I think he has to beat Michigan this year. That's first and foremost, which I think he probably will at home. If he doesn't, he should fire right there right at the end of the game.
Yeah.
He will. He could still win. Probably I think if they played Oregon again, I think they'd beat him. They'll win the Big Ten. And then he's got a good shot. I mean, I think right now, I like them in Georgia, possibly meeting down the road again as like a rematch from 2 years ago. I think they're probably the most balanced, consistent teams overall. I mean, in terms of like running the ball and throwing, I guess we ran the ball very well and defensively look better. And just look at the talent and stuff. I think if he wins this year, but I think either way, if they win or if he beats Michigan and makes the playoff, which they will, and maybe wins it, I still think he's probably gonna dip at the end of the year. I mean, he had to have 24/7 security around his house after that Oregon game, and there's just a lot of baggage with that job. And I think if he can get an OC job in the NFL, which is what I'm hearing, then I think he would probably take that and just go try it again somewhere else down the road where it's less pressure. So,
Yeah.
But back
to the Lions trade deadline. I think we're going to end up with two of the three: Zadarius Smith, Chase Young, or Miami D end.
Jalen Phillips.
No, older guy. I can't. Man, his name just slipped my head. Calais Campbell.
Oh yeah.
I think that.
I think you're getting Zadarius for sure.
Yeah, and I think we end up getting another one, either Calais Campbell, obviously older guy, veteran guy. A lot of probably what Dan Campbell likes, and he's in Miami and they stink, so why not have him try to win a ring?
I would like to see Chase Young again in an environment like that with that kind of coaching. Could he kind of get a spark in his career? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, he's in the Saints right now on a 1-year deal. I mean, that's going nowhere. Might as well. So I think we get two of those three. Two of those three, I think, are Lions. And watch out, because if we get that pass rush back, we're going to be tough to beat. I mean, we beat the Packers in Green Bay pretty handily today.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be the Lions and Chiefs. That's where I see right now, because I don't really see anybody in the conference in their way. So
Philly's tough, offensively. They're gonna score points. Washington's playing great, but that'd be crazy. I think that luck, and then Atlanta, and
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But well, Chris, you got any final words you got here?
Go Lions!
All right, go Lions! All right, well, thanks, Gergs. We'll see you back next week.
Yep, see you, buddy.
See you tomorrow, Bo.
Yep.
Well, Jersey, it was a great show again. Longer show tonight. We had a lot we had to talk about. We're kind of up here just venting and bullshitting. I think a lot of people need to just kick back and relax after watching today's game. It's been a long season, but you got any final words here or anything you want to say?
Yeah, it's really here at the end of the day, it's just sports, just entertainment. So, we just have fun with it. And I mean, obviously it's engraved in our culture, so that's why football is so important, and we spend all this time talking about it. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's just entertainment. So but more important things going on. But everybody have a great week, and go out and watch a high school football game. You know what I mean? Get out and watch some. If you want some real football, some pure football, go watch some high school football. We got great high school football around here. If you live if you live anywhere, but especially in Northeast Ohio, the ground zero football, and just loads and loads and loads of great high school football around here. So go out and enjoy a game Friday, and the weather's been great, and go Knights as always.
Tell them they like, subscribe, and share.
Great show. It's just great content. Show's growing. Everyone has the ability to come on here and say how they feel, and it's welcomed. And we want fans from every team. And Joseph does a great job moderating and making it fair for everyone. Everyone gets everybody involved, and and it's just fun. It's just fun to get up here and just just be yourself, and and be entertaining. So I guess it's not for everyone. Some people are just afraid to go on camera, but you can come on and not go on camera. You can call in, chat in, anything, just contribute. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you're watching and you think it's and you don't want to contribute and you think it's great content, like it, subscribe, and share.
Absolutely. It's the best way you can support this channel. And so it's free too. It don't cost you anything. It just takes a second to tap a button, and that's it.
Right.
Maybe we'll never see you again. I don't know, but just tap the button for us. So yeah, like, subscribe, share all the good stuff, and we'll see you guys in the next one. We're out of here.
All right.
Go.